And we're live. What's up, YouTube? It's Logan, the Metal and Beer Snob, coming at you on a Saturday night with Faith No More. We're doing a Faith No More deep dive and discussion. I've got a familiar face for these parts, and then actually a new one. So, Necrotic Nick, what's up, man? Thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you kind of cast a good piece of bait out there for me. Like, oh, you want to talk about Faith No More for hours? Like, do I?
I figured it was a safe bet that this might be a band you'd be interested in. Hearing you talk about some of their albums and stuff. And then, of course, the familiar face, Chris, Depeche Commode. I've known this guy for a little bit now, and one of the couple shirts I've seen him wear has been that Angel Dust one he's rocking tonight. So I knew a shoe-in. In fact, I think this has been a long up-and-coming event we've talked about, probably over at least a year, right?
For a while now, yeah.
Like it's. I know we both shared the love for this band.
Yeah, Faith No More, proper recognition in the YouTube community. It's long overdue. So we're here doing God's work tonight.
Someone's got to do it. The 90s alternative scene does not get talked about enough. I will put it out there, and Faith No More is probably the highest caliber of that scene, in my opinion, and really transcends it. So excited to talk about this band. First, let me crack open a beer. We got the hazy little thing in honor of the real thing. Nick, what you got? Is that the tasty?
It's Diet Coke. I might break out the hard stuff later. I got a Mountain Dew in the fridge.
Oh shit!
Getting crazy tonight.
If it gets crazy around Angel Dust era, we'll break it out.
I'm gonna snort the entire bottle for that one.
It's gonna just come out the other nostril. Heads up, I'm calling it.
Damn.
But already got 14 people watching.
Hey.
Which for me, this is good numbers. Nick, I don't know what you get. You're slumming it tonight. Welcome.
No, I mean, honestly,
I just hit 400 subscribers, so this is.
Subscribe to this channel if you already haven't.
Oh yeah.
This
good
man
advice.
is a connoisseur of taste, both in ales and music, and somehow he finds the most amazing stuff at his Goodwills, where the rest of us find nothing but like fucking Chicago's greatest hits.
So some of these Faith No More albums actually were from Goodwill, so that'll be the CDs. Yeah. Surprise. But we already got a good group of people here. Cheers to Phil. Overkill. Let's see who else we got. I know we got Ryan, which if anyone's interested, apparently tonight is the night to do some streaming. Ryan already did the stream talking about Shape of Despair. If anyone likes Funeral Doom, I know, good call. And then Jeff Gas Mask and Hand Grenades is doing a Kate Bush stream. You want to talk about bushes and running up hills? It's going to be at 10 o'clock. Yeah. Release the hounds. Hounds of love for Valentine's Day. That's going to be 10 o'clock. So 1 hour after this thing is finally starting. And then cheers to Brandon and Scorn. All right. So we're here to talk about all things Faith No More, and I figured best way to start is introductions, man. We'll go with Nick, and then I'll wrap it up after that, dude. What is your introduction for this band? Let me see if I can get this in order. Oh, yeah, that works.
Okay. My introduction to this band actually goes back to like 6th or 7th grade when I saw the Epic music video for Epic. I was absolutely blown away by the visuals, but also the music. It became kind of just something I was like obsessed with. Like I would watch like MTV in hopes that video would play. And then years later, when I was allowed to go purchase my own music and such, I found a copy of The Real Thing. I was like, hey, that's that crazy band. And I jammed the living shit out of it. And it just became like one of those bands for me that kind of defined the 90s. Like the 90s were weird and experimental, and this was 100% that. And I have been a diehard fan ever since. Like Faith No More, I would go as far as saying it's one of my favorite bands all the time. Honestly,
I agree with you.
And Mike Patton rules. Period.
Okay, so now I'm figuring out how you do the. Sorry, guys, I'm experimenting with my StreamYard over here.
It's moving quickly.
I'm trying to give everyone vertigo. So now, Chris, we got you.
All right. My introduction to Faith No More, it's just like Nick's, where, because we're both men in our 40s. So it was when The Real Thing was released. There was the video for Epic, and then there another video for was it The Real Thing?
Falling to Pieces.
Falling to Pieces was the other big
Falling
one.
to Pieces, yeah, Falling to Pieces.
Had a similar vibe.
And it was the type of time too where as a kid, living at home, I was allowed to have a TV in my room. And I remember watching on MTV late at night, Faith No More at that time, they could have been on Headbangers Ball or they could have been on 120 Minutes. But I remember watching the video. I mean, it's both of those videos are just prolific music videos for that era of, Mike Patton's head blowing up, like from the Scanners movie, the one where there's the fish flopping at the end of the video. I think that was for Falling to Pieces. And but also too, at that time, I had never heard anything like that, like the slap bass, and then like the church organ type of sound. Mike Patton wasn't rapping. It was more of like a funk style of delivery, but then he was also singing and then metal at the same time. And it was really just discovering Faith No More. I've always loved that band, and Nick, like you, they're easily in my top 10 all-time favorite bands, maybe even in my top 5, because I never get bored with them. Some of their albums I still listen to, on repeat a lot of times. And Mike Patton definitely is an extremely talented vocalist. And I've always respected him because he's chosen the path of good music instead of, he could have easily gone like the mainstream route and done like collaborations with like someone like Maroon 5 or any of that, like, top 40 garbage, I mean, he could have, though, because he's a very talented, unique singer for this style of music, but he's always done like, the indie, underground, not really underground, but nothing that's commercially viable, and so Faith No More are awesome. I absolutely love Faith No More.
Yeah. For me, I'm with you guys. They are in my top 10 favorite bands, but probably barely missing the top 5. And it's been a weird, interesting journey with their music, because it was never a band that really clicked with me initially. It was always like, first getting into them was definitely like hearing Epic either on the radio, or I used to watch VH1 Classic a lot. Mm-hmm. Like that was for me. It was late 2000s. So it was like 2008, 2009. VH1 would have the VH1 Classic like metal hour at like between midnight and 1, and they would do Surprise You're Dead and Epic and Falling to Pieces on that every now and then. So it was seeing those music videos, and then also just they would do these weird countdowns too, with like best bands of the 80s. And actually the reason I saw Faith No More on one of those countdowns is they were top one-hit wonder bands.
Yep.
Which we're gonna address that for sure. But Faith No More are termed by the music elite as a one-hit wonder, which is boggles the brain. But that was like kind of the context that I first heard of this band was that they initially recorded one album with the biggest single ever, Epic, and then they kind of, I don't know, they squandered it. They like blew it or something, and then they fell off of the pedestal, and that was like just how the VH1 and more boomer oriented media were handling the band, back then. And so for the longest time, they were just the real thing, because I ended up picking up that, and then slowly and surely I would find like Angel Dust and Album of the Year and stuff in used bins, because I'm a cheap bastard, and that's the main place I find my albums, and first time I heard Angel Dust was it was too much. It's too much. So for Faith No More, it was really like I would get into one album and then I would wait a couple years, and then all of a sudden the next one would click and it would just fall into succession like that. So that's meant they've always been like the underdog for me as far as being one of my favorite bands. And honestly, it didn't really click with me until a year or two ago. I'd be like, man, thinking about what were my 10, 15 favorite bands, and I would realize that Faith No More has been with me through thick and thin, and their albums just continue to grow and continue to be favorites, and are ones I can continually revisit. And when I do revisit them, it's like you said, Chris, I just want to play them over and over again. Like preparing for this stream, I easily got at least 3 plays on most of these albums we're about to talk about, which for some of them I've already listened to endlessly. So that's an impressive feat, I think, and worth celebrating for a band. So I guess real quick before we dive in, another thing that Faith No More unfortunately has to own outside of being a one-hit wonder is they're often given credit for being one of the grandfathers of nu metal. Have you guys heard of that? Have you guys heard of this?
I've heard that argument before, and I mean, all right, with how big Epic got, like there was definitely some bands that probably followed suit, heard what they did, it's like, hey, let's see if we can combine that into not just one song, but rather like an entire style. I mean, rap and metal had mingled at points before that, but it was generally like like guest spots and such, or like maybe like a cover or something like that. Mm-hmm. This was a band that was just a band, just like, hey, we're gonna have some rapped vocals on here because. But the thing was, that wasn't the thing that defined their sound, even on the Real Thing. Like the Real Thing is a broad album full of a multitude of different styles of music on it. But that's where they kind of got pigeonholed as. So I would say Epic maybe did, but Faith No More as a whole, I think, influenced just a lot of like crazy experimental bands.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get it, but I don't think you can specifically say they influenced nu metal, because I don't know, Patton's vocal style with the crazy dynamics and the whispering to the screaming and like that soft to loud, that on the other hand, I think could have a little bit.
Well, another thing too about Faith No More is they've also been lumped in with, and this is very cringe worthy. They've been lumped in with Red Hot Chili Peppers. And there's been debates about who started that whole like funk style of singing. Was it Anthony Kiedis or was it Mike Patton? And the thing is that when I was in high school, people who listened to Red Hot Chili Peppers did not listen to Faith No More. And it was also the other way around. People who listened to Faith No More listened to metal. People who listened to Red Hot Chili Peppers listened to whatever was trendy and mainstream at the time. And so, Faith No More's style of music has been, I've always kind of thought of it as like church metal, because of one thing that has always been present in every Faith No More album is a lot of just organs, like the organs. And, you don't hear that in much other music at all, but then still, you hear a lot of guitar work, like a metal tuning, and Mike Patton's vocal ranges can go from singing to whispering to screaming to, he's all over the place with that. So yeah, I can see how the normies probably lump Faith No More in as a one-hit wonder, but people who really know music know that they were a huge influence on
I mean,
yes, they had maybe one or two top 40 hits, but it's people who know music know how much of an influence they were on a whole generation of bands.
Yeah, I think that's my ultimate takeaway with Faith No More is that they brushed with the mainstream, but just like barely did a skid mark on it basically before going back to where they were probably more comfortable. And
they knew how to be catchy, but they also knew how to put their own stamp on it and be kind of weird with it. Like
even Epic as a single is just a weird song.
Yeah. Weird video to go with it.
Especially for 1989. Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but they knew how to write hooks. It was very clear. They had a strong sense of melody. But when it came down to songwriting, there was always something that was like, now let's just kind of turn it on its head ever so slightly, make it a little strange.
Yeah. And I think because they did cross paths with the mainstream audience a little bit, there's two very distinct ways of looking at it, as you were kind of alluding to, Chris. Like the mainstream people are going to be like, oh, this is the one-hit wonder band who were aping the Red Hot Chili Peppers or who had beef with the Red Hot Chili Peppers and influenced Fred Durst to pick up a microphone or whatever. But the reality for everyone in the underground or people who are actually fans of the band is a lot different. They did a lot more than anyone on something like MTV or VH1 or anything these days will give them credit for. And I think hopefully they got the credit and what they deserved when they did their reunion stuff. So, but now I'm jumping ahead a little bit. So let's go back to the beginning real quick. This is going to be a quick Wikipedia run through because this band, honestly, they had an interesting, track to actually getting to the real thing and Mike Patton, which is what, we've already kind of alluded to and talked about. But they formed in California, 1979, and originally had a couple other names. They were called Sharp Young Men. That's solid. Faith No Man. They liked men apparently back in.
Well, one of them did.
One of them did. And the members originally were Billy Gold, Roddy Bottom, and Mike Borden. So, and they of course are still the longest remaining members. And honestly, I think they're
the core.
The core of the sound. Truthfully, it's easy to listen to them initially and think, oh, Mike Patton's the core, but really just the drums, the synths and the keys, and those slapping bass lines. I think that's the core of Faith No More, and you can definitely tell that those three have been playing together for over 4 decades apparently. So several lineup changes and stuff, and then finally we get to them incorporating their original singer Chuck Mosley, who joined in 1983, and then guitarist Jim Martin, who's also a big feature of the sound, I think, and helped them a lot later on. They released a self-titled cassette in 83 before finally getting to the debut, We Care a Lot, which, let's see, I think that came out in 1985, I want to say.
I think that's right.
And I'm going to just pop it up real quick. Do any of you guys own this one?
I don't. That's the only one I don't own.
Yes,
okay.
I do.
Yes. All right. So I'll let you start us off with the synopsis, but we're all just going to run through each album accordingly. And if you want to do a ranking, feel free to. You don't have to. I will as we run through, but it's all good.
I brought this album up recently when we did a video on bands that got off to a rocky start. And I'm kind of alluding to the fact that I don't think this is necessarily the greatest album. It feels very scattershot. It's very all over the place. The atmosphere is uneven. At times it sounds very silly. At other times it sounds like it's really trying to be serious, but the songwriting is really all over the place. There's a couple of standouts on it. Was it Jungle or In the Jungle? No, The Jungle.
The Jungle.
I do like As the Worm Turns. There's like some really good moody synths on there. But my issue on it is it doesn't have the focus. Like it has that, like, hey, we want to be wild. We want to be different. But it doesn't have the focus to really bring it together in the songs. Like, yeah, there's some cool riffs on there. But again, like stuff tonally doesn't match up. And then, well, all right. Chuck wasn't the best singer. Rest in peace, Chuck. But his delivery was very odd. Like, I wouldn't call it like atonal, but it wasn't on key a lot. And I feel like his cadences were odd. They had like weird layered effects. The gang vocals kind of helped occasionally. Like We Care a Lot, I believe it became a bigger single with the second album when they re-recorded it. But again, that was just sort of an odd song. Like his meters were kind of strange. It was almost like spoken word. The album, I wouldn't say is like necessarily bad. It's just weird. It feels like maybe there were rushed ideas and they didn't quite, get them completely together. I do like the instrumentals on it. In fact, the one Jim with the really pretty acoustic guitar in there is really nice. And what was the other one? Pills for Breakfast. It's kind of an interesting instrumental, honestly. But yeah. Oh shit. Oh, dude. Man.
Yeah.
Heal up, dude. Man, that sucks.
Yep. Cheers, Falafel Man. Thank you for joining. Hope you feel
dude.
better soon. Yeah, we're all with you on the Faith No More Love for sure. So everyone definitely mention what you think of each album in the comments. Like, has anyone else heard or bothered to listen to We Care a Lot? Because this is almost, it's not quite a Pantera level. Like, let's hide this era, because a lot of these songs would get played like live and stuff, but it's a different band to me than what they would be.
Falafel is a good comparison. Fishbone. It kind of sits like it's somewhere between Fishbone and Living Color, but again, like none of the direction yet. Like they needed the song still. Like they had the ideas. This was like the rough draft, and maybe if they tooled out the songs a little bit longer, I think they might have been better. But yeah, this one, I mean, eventually I'm going to get it, like just to kind of complete the circuit. I don't think it's necessarily a terrible album, but it's just, I don't know, it's weird, but not in the regular Faith No More weird way.
Yeah. All right, Chris.
All right, so We Care a Lot. First, what I have here is this is a early 90s reissue of it. The London. It's one of the London reissues. And then 2016, there was what was called the Band Edition. And it was, this is a double LP, and then also the CD of, there's one album that is a remaster, and then the second LP is of there's a bonus track, or no, I'm sorry, it's a remix. So disc 1 is a remaster, disc 2 is a remix. And this came out in 2018, and then also the record also came with a CD version of, which is basically this one, but just without the digipack. We Care a Lot. This is one of the ones that I've spent the least amount of time with, but when preparing for this deep dive, I spent the most amount of time with it. And it's their first album. They're finding their way. The synths or keyboards, more basic sounding. Like there's not a lot of variation in the keyboard synthesizer type of sound, especially organs. That something that Faith No More were really known for. And Chuck Mosley is what I finally nailed down what it is about his style of singing that just never clicked with any of us, and that it's very nasally. And he sounds like he's really congested when he's singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. He sounds like it's a combination of sinus congestion with Southern California skater bro type of cadence. That's exactly
that's amazing. Yeah,
like
Yeah.
what
Like
he
that.
sounds like. And
was he trying to do an 80s thing, you think? Like,
well, this was the 80s though. So
well,
I mean,
so was he trying to blend in with what the sound was for the 80s?
I just don't think he was a good singer.
Yeah.
Really, like he probably was just a punk who's just started singing in a microphone but didn't have any training or anything like that, and so I think that there was a thing for that time, in especially California, where there was like that surfer bro, like, bruh, man, type of cadence. And he bought into that. I mean, there's even that one song where it was like, what, man, I'll just skate to get there and I'll look a lot better doing that, man. I mean, it's kind of like a parody, but I can't really put myself into. It was a step up when they got Patton. We'll put it that way. And that's the thing about Chuck Mosley's vocal style, is that after a while it kind of just really annoys me, because it does sound very nasally, congested, and then the exaggeration on like the skater bro, surfer bro type of thing. It kind of, after a while, I'm just like, God, I wish that the first two albums were completely re-recorded with Patton on vocals, and I would probably love them a lot more. But out of this one, yeah, I mean, We Care a Lot. And what's fun, go on YouTube, find the video for We Care a Lot, and play it on 2x speed. And it's a completely different experience listening to that song. The Jungle, like Nick, what you were saying, The Jungle is a really good song. Why Do You Bother was one that I liked. Pills for Breakfast. One that I've always really liked off of this album is Arabian Disco. I think Arabian Disco is really good, and it's really keyboardy, organy sounding, and I really like that one. So I think at the end of this I'll do my ranking, so I'm not gonna rank it right now, but yeah, it's it's sort of it's their first album, so there was room for improvement. They did improve by leaps and bounds, and it's a very good album.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna basically echo what you guys already said. I will start off with saying though that I think the core, like we mentioned, the core three members of the band, Borden, Bottom, and Gould, they're on full display here. Like, you can already hear Mike Borden's like signature, more like Tom oriented drum performance, the almost church synthesizers and like the always present keys are kind of there, and the bass might be one of my favorite parts about the album and his playing. And he definitely makes Gould definitely makes some of the tracks, like the instrumental Pills for Breakfast, a highlight. I want to say that I was able to pick up this cassette like literally right when we announced the stream. I went into one of the local record stores and boom, there it was. And I was like, all right, that's a sign to finally pick this up. And this is one of the OGs from, I think, a 1987 repressing. And yeah, it sounds like it was pressed in 1987. Not the best sounding cassette. So that it was cool seeing. I didn't notice that until your physical pressing, Chris. That like skull thing that it's got in there. Like that's a pretty neat little visual there.
Yeah, I'd like to get an OG of the vinyl because yeah.
Good luck. I have not priced on Discogs that for that, but I'm sure it's not a cheap undertaking. But yeah, I mean this album is indeed a bit without purpose in the same way that the other ones are. Like it definitely sounds like a very young band trying their best to come together with the sound, but they didn't really write individual songs the best way. Like it's funny that they open with "We Care a Lot" because honestly, that is like the most well constructed song. Like we've got a very definable, you know, pre-chorus, verse, you know, anthemic chorus, and it makes sense why they would bring that song and that like motif of "We Care a Lot" throughout their whole discography because I think it is one of their better written tracks. Definitely probably the best written song of their first two albums and of the Mosley era overall.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, like other tracks on here, like The Jungle and Why Do You Bother and Greed, and really Arabian Disco. I'll have to jam it again. But that one, they never come together for me. They're always like, you know, a very solid form of the rhythm section, but then the song never really congeals to be a realized product that I can like remember, like talking about, talking on a stream. I'm not like, oh, I remember the section from, uh, Arabian Disco or New Beginnings that, blew my mind. But the other highlight I want to mention is As the Worm Turns. I think that is the closest to where they were going outside of We Care a Lot on this album. So definitely a rougher album. I guess I'll save my ranking as well to the very end. Just to keep everyone in suspense. Let's not show our hand until we have to. But
one thing too about As the Worm Turns, that's one of the songs from the Mosley era that they did re-record with Patton on vocals.
Yeah.
It was a B-side, I think, from maybe Album of the Year around that time, possibly.
It pops up on the Angel Dust reissue. I don't know when it was recorded, but
okay.
I was listening to like the full reissue on Spotify, and it was on there. So
okay.
But so from there, they were sticking with the 2-year thing, and I believe they signed to Slash Records, which was currently owned by Warner Music Groups in 1986, and that takes us to 1987, where they released Introduce Yourself. And this is the one I do not own, but thankfully Nick owns it.
Yeah, this one I got well after I got 3 of the Mike Patton ones because I totally forgot they had a different singer. So this was honestly my first exposure to Chuck Mosley. I knew We Care a Lot because I believe it popped up in some movies. The first movie, unfortunately, I could think of that it popped up in was Biodome. God, that movie fucking sucks. But I like that song. I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. And the re-recorded version of the song, I think, is much better. It's, got crisper production. There's a little bit of an improvement in terms of like the vocal delivery on that one, or at least in how it's produced. But this one, I would say, is the rest of the band is really starting to mature as songwriters. These songs are songs. Like, yeah, there's some like weird moments where you get some skit-ish stuff, like the Crab song. I don't quite get that whole lead in, but the songs feel more refined, more focused. There is a clear push for like memorable riffs and melodies. The last 2 tracks in here, Blood and Spirit, I really like those. And honestly, Chinese Arithmetic, that's a solid song. Like, it's a lot of cool, intricate like riff work in there. And again, like the band is really gelling, but Chuck Mosley, he's not growing with the band. That's kind of my thing. Like he didn't really improve much as a vocalist. Like he's a little bit better, but I still feel like there's a lot of like vocal meandering, like just kind of wandering around. And that was the thing that was kind of like holding back the songs. Like, honestly, this is one that, I mean, if they chose to re-record it with Mike Patton, even now, I think it'd still probably be like maybe a little bit better overall, just because I'd like to hear his vocal phrasing or even some slightly different lyrics, because the lyrics are kind of goofy and all over the place. But this one definitely marked an improvement. Like, this band was getting better and their sound was becoming more defined. And this is, kind of where I think like the building blocks for the future really started right here. Like, this is where that weird proto 90s sound was kind of coming up. And again, Jim Martin more present on here. Like, the guitar work is notably heavier, more memorable riffs. It's an improvement. But again, Chuck Mosley, he wasn't the best singer. So yeah, that was kind of like the missing factor there.
Did you say is Jim Martin on that album?
Yep.
See, I was trying. You're right. He is. I was trying to keep track of when he joins in, but yeah, I guess I could see his guitar work. It's definitely flashier than on We Care a Lot. Like, there's more moments that just pique your interest.
Bigger tone too. Like, he kind of, like, the first one a little thin. I mean, it wasn't bad, but again, I felt like the synths kind of easily jumped out in front of him often. Here, the guitars felt a little bit more prominent and just like a more crisp, more polished mix overall. But yeah, like, the songwriting was notably better. So they had to improve in just one other spot, honestly.
Who is the core of their songwriting? Would you say is it Gold?
I think Borden also was heavily involved in that.
Yeah.
Jim Martin also, when he was in there, he wrote a lot of stuff for him. In fact, I think a good chunk of Real Thing, he was like one of the core writers on there, because he said like it was kind of like his vision for an album to be like a very guitar driven but very unique album. And yeah, I think at least at that point he was heavily involved. He wasn't as heavily involved in Angel Dust.
Yeah, that was his checking out period, kind of. But we'll get there. Here, Chris, we got introduce yourself.
All right. So introduce yourself. This is the Chuck Mosley album that I have listened to a lot. I'm not a fan of the re-recording of We Care a Lot. I prefer the version on the first album. Chinese Arithmetic is a great song. This album is a very good album. I really like it a lot. Chuck Mosley's vocals do kind of annoy me after a while. I'd love to hear this album re-recorded with Patton on vocals, of course. R&R is another really good song that's definitely a banger that has really grown on me. So yeah, this is this is the Music on Vinyl reissue that came out some time ago. Sounds really good, but yeah, Chinese Arithmetic is a banger. That's an excellent song. R&R, those are probably my two favorite songs off of Introduce Yourself. Faster Disco is really good too. I really like that one a lot. Now, like the core, the core really was when Faith No More started out. The core has always been Roddy Bottum, Mike Borden, and Billy Gold. That's been the core, because guitarists they've before the core started, vocalist and lead guitarist were, they changed around a lot. Supposedly even Courtney Love. Ugh. Anyways,
that's not right.
Yeah, she was like supposedly
after Mosley left, right?
No, in their very early days, before Mosley joined, she was supposedly one of like the early vocalists. So back when they were like Faith No Man or something like that. But yeah, and then what I have right here, this is a European 12-inch single. It's the London. It's a 12-inch single for Anne's Song, which has some killer Jim Martin guitar work on it. So it's that, and then the B side is, and this is a promo. The B side is the song "Greed," which off of
We Care a Lot.
So yeah, but yeah, Anne's song is a really good song too. So yeah, Introduce Yourself. This is where they really started to come into form, and you could see what they would become. And
yeah, I'm hard to argue with what the other two guests have said. It's basically Faith No More starting to write actual songs. In my opinion, they're really focused on creating different tones for each song too. Like that was one of the issue with We Care a Lot, is it all kind of blended together a bit. But here, certain parts of the album sound different. Like I think Anne's Song is an easy first kind of standout. It's a little weird lyrically. Like it's about a group of teenage kids or something with all about Anne. It kind of sounds very 80s. It's a very 80s song. And yeah, it's a cool one. It's a unique one for their discography. I will say, I don't know if I'm a fan of the title track, Introduce Yourself. It's got like this really cool upbeat like rhythm that they'll definitely start exploring more on the real thing. But the part of the song is all the band members introducing themselves, and they're like, introduce yourself, Jimmy. Introduce yourself, Mikey. It makes me think of like Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch all just like coming in and being like, oh.
Dude, there'd be a great sitcom title card. I'm just saying.
That's what it makes me think of some 1980s like hokey like family programming or something.
The Mickey Mouse Club, except it's metal.
Yeah. Introduce yourself. Like it's a good, I love the energy of it, but it doesn't realize itself. And I mean, it's only a minute and a half, so you can't complain too much. The other, the version of We Care a Lot on here, definitely the better version, better produced, definitely the best song I think of this era. Probably the closest to a 10 out of 10 song that Faith No More, did with Mosley. I've always loved the lyrics for that track and just how tongue-in-cheek and kind of morbid they were at the same time. Like we're talking about war and drug addiction, and then also Transformers, More Than Meets the Eye, all in the same song. Yeah, fun stuff. The other big song highlight for me is actually Death March, which that's the one. Chris, you mentioned the skit in the beginning earlier. That's the one where he's like, 97 cents.
Yeah,
well, I'm just gonna skate there, and
right. Yeah,
that was the Skater Bro song, and that one is very dark sounding, and like the keys and stuff are pretty ominous, and the chorus is pretty awesome. I will say, yeah.
Oh no, what were you saying?
I was just gonna kind of wrap up the track listing that I wish the closing two tracks, you said you kind of like them, Nick. They've not stuck out with me. Blood and Spirit. I'm like, I don't even remember what they sound like.
I thought, honestly, they had some like really solid riffs on there. Were just catchy, a little bit darker, a little bit more like the meaner side at times. And I love that one. Both of them.
There's definitely not a song that I don't like. There's not like a. Well, maybe there is. There are. Those songs are good though, for sure. I just don't remember them as well as I do the ones that I mentioned.
Yeah, I'll need to go back and listen to those ones.
The Crab song might be the one that I'm just like it. It just doesn't click with me. Like
I like the rest of the song. It's just the beginning of it is so weird. Like the little dialogue he's having with no one.
ooh, yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
about
just
like,
him.
why don't you come back? Why don't you come hang out with me? Why don't you stay
Don't
curled up in
go.
the basement? How did you get out of there? Did the chain break?
It just doesn't make sense, and then that kind of colors my opinion of the rest of the song. I will say R&R is a good track too.
Yeah.
That's
They Faith No More played live with Chuck Mosley on vocals shortly before he died. On YouTube, there's a show, and I think that it was maybe just at like small clubs in SoCal or at Amoeba Records or something. There's like recent footage on YouTube of Chuck Mosley doing vocals from, and Faith No More playing with Chuck Mosley, doing songs from the first two albums.
See, and that kind of goes back to what I was mentioning earlier. Like they were definitely a different band with Chuck Mosley and very different feel. But unlike Pantera, they didn't shy away from the fact that they had these two albums. I mean, Chris, you just showed off a bunch of reissues. How often has Pantera reissued power metal for crying out loud? And they still play these songs live, or they did at least during the reunion era. So it's cool to hear that reverence for this, era of their music.
I mean, Faith No More have always had their own style. So from We Care a Lot, Introduce Yourself, they were Introduce Yourself especially was where it was kind of like, okay, now we know where we're going with the next album. It's I think that those two really they're very interchangeable. I think with a lot of just I'm not a musician, but just with the style of the song, it's like they were still finding themselves with We Care a Lot. They really kind of got into form with Introduce Yourself, and then comes the real thing.
They were ready for the real thing, so to speak. And I mean, of course, the biggest change was Mosley was dropped, and like I read that supposedly it didn't have to do with the singing. It was like he was being flaky. I know this is surprising, but he was being flaky. He wasn't showing up to practice and stuff. I don't know if I don't know what was going on with that, but they basically, this band has had a historic, they've historically all collectively left other bands and reformed around a singular musician. That's how like Faith No Man broke up and Faith No More was formed. They all left outside of the singer and joined around Chuck Mosley. And I think it was a similar thing with Mike Patton. And he joined in 1988. And this is, I guess, after Jim Martin suggested him after hearing Mr. Bungle's demo, Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny. So there you go. Jim Martin, the most undervalued and basically important member for Faith.
He was in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Station!
See? So, yeah, they joined up in 88, and Real Thing was released in June 1989. So here we go. And then I'm a really quick mention that Epic was released as a single in January of 1990, and that was their one-hit wonder. It became a top 10 hit. So, and now, Nick, I'm sorry, you got it.
Oh, no. All right. Here's how good this album is. You could take Epic off, and you would still have an absolute banger of an album. Songwriting, maturity achieved right here. There's a lot of dynamics. The songs stand out. Like, these guys were clearly trying different stuff with almost every one of these songs. Like, you had crazy heavier songs like Surprise You're Dead, which is one of my absolute favorites. I love the title track, the really cool soft build-up with the isolated vocals and those just big, heavy riffs. Woodpecker from Mars, it's one of my favorite instrumentals like ever. It's just so much damn fun. these songs are just, I don't know, like bigger, bolder, more lavish. And now they had a frontman that they could really build around. Mike Patton's vocal range was, they're not even really comparable. But they had someone that, like, yeah, we can try different stuff with this guy because I'm reasonably sure he can match it. And he comes from a really weird, quirky fucking band, too. So this is already a good fit. But yeah, like when I talk about like Jim Martin in terms of like his idea of having like a more guitar-driven sound, this is definitely that. The guitars are probably one of the most prominent things on here. The tone on here is just maximal, crunchified, just nastiness. But again, it's the songwriting, the hooks, the melodies stand out. Even the keys, there's like a lot more elaborate transitions and atmosphere. This album is absolutely amazing, dude. Zombie Eaters, I fucking love that song. Honestly, I love this entire album. And this was my first one. It's even, I don't know if it's my favorite anymore. I mean, it's not my favorite anymore, but God, I fucking love this album. It's an essential 90s listen, you know, outside of it coming out in 89. I actually just kind of dismissed that because it came out in late 89. This is a 90s listen. It is absolutely amazing. It's fun, it's goofy, it's eccentric, but it's also catchier than hell. Like Falling to Pieces and From Out of Nowhere, dude. The chorus on From Out of Nowhere, like right away, you are just greeted to just like a huge chorus, like you're just going to be singing, you know, nonstop. But yeah, even without Epic, the one hit wonder, this album's amazing. And if you're a Faith No More fan, you know.
Yep, well said.
All right. So the real thing. Going back to what I was talking about, how this is when I discovered Faith No More. You know, the video for Epic and then Falling to Pieces were both big on, you know, MTV. I was a kid. I was allowed to have a TV in my bedroom for the first time. I remember being up late and watching 120 Minutes and Headbangers Ball, and you could see Faith No More on both of those. And yeah, this album is a masterpiece. I mean, it's incredible. One of my favorite songs off of this one is Zombie Eaters. I've also really love that song. And the first song, Falling Out of Nowhere, just when it opens up, and it just is a killer song. I always felt like the cover of War Pigs. It just really, it didn't. I mean, at that time, and what's strange is that at that time, bands weren't covering Black Sabbath. You know, like at that time, that's when Sabbath were just sort of just washed up has-beens. They weren't held in high praise like they are nowadays. You know, I mean, because this is going back to, what was it, 1989 when this came out.
What Sabbath album was that? Was that like?
Oh God, was that?
War Pigs was off of the first album. Sabbath.
No.
Well, no, that what album in 1989?
Were they still in like the Iommi era, like the
I think
Cross, or
might have been Tony Martin.
Tony Martin era? Yeah,
I think 89,
like before Forbidden.
Yeah, I don't
right?
know.
Eternal Idol.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that. That Black Sabbath was not the band to cover back then.
Yeah.
When I first found this album, I was like, oh, duh, they're covering Black Sabbath. That makes perfect sense.
Right.
You know, I was around the time that they reunited and shit. So
this album too, and then this is where the slap bass really stands out in this album. You know, I mean, this is full slap bass, circus organ, metal. You know, I mean, for the time. And then Mike Patton, it was a huge step up when they got Patton as you know, your lead singer. Huge step up by leaps and bounds, by far. One thing that has really bothered me about this album, And this is me being the petty hi-fi guy who, it has a very thin sound. It's not, it doesn't have like a big type of sound. It sounds very thin. And I just think for the time, because this was sort of when they really broke out into the mainstream, and this is the late 80s when a lot of mastering was still done with radio being, the output. So when they would master albums, the production would be a lot thinner, so that way it would sound better across, an FM radio, and that's one thing that always really annoys me about this album is it does have a really thin sound to it. Now, this right here, this is the music on vinyl reissue that came out some time ago. I can't remember when, and it does sound very good, but there's still that sort of like flat, tinny type of sound to it that has just always bothered me. It doesn't have the low end punch, like the slap bass doesn't slap, so yeah, it's the sound for this album is what has always sort of just muted my enthusiasm just slightly. But I know that that's a petty, anal retentive. Maybe if I had a girlfriend, I wouldn't think about things like that. I mean, it's such an excellent album. It really is. I mean, this is what put Faith No More on the map. And it's near perfect. Well, one thing too. I'm sorry, I forgot to show this. Can we go back to this? So then this was the follow-up live at Brixton Academy. And they put this live album out soon after The Real Thing was released. And it's mostly live, and it's a real live album, not like a recorded in studio with crowd noise dubbed over it. No, this is like this is a real live recording.
It's the real thing. Yeah.
It's the real thing.
But there are 2 studio tracks on the back of it. The Grade is just an instrumental of Jim Martin playing guitar, acoustic guitar, but the Cowboy song,
good song,
is an excellent song. It really is. It could have totally have gone on The Real Thing. It sounds like maybe it was a throwaway track from The Real Thing, but it's really an excellent song. And after going back and just listening to it over and over from The Real Thing era, because I consider this just an extension of The Real Thing. This is the Cowboy song is probably one of my top 3 favorite songs off of The Real Thing.
I was gonna say I have the DVD version of that live performance, and that proves
is that the full performance?
Yep, full performance plus the collection of music videos.
Awesome,
a fun little thing. It's been the backdrop of my downstairs studio forever. Just I don't think people ever notice it. But yeah, they actually, I think they retitled it for the DVD, You Fat Bastards.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have a chance to ever find this, pick it up. The performance is awesome. Mike Patton's stage presence it's Mike Patton's stage presence. Mm-hmm. Performance on SNL.
Oh my God, I haven't. Yeah,
Climbing the Rafters.
I haven't seen that in a while. When was that live DVD?
I remember
released?
that. Yeah,
was that 90?
Let's see. Well, this 2006 in Rhino for this compilation.
Well, I mean, so when was the concert?
The concert was it 90? Yeah, April 28th, 1990.
Yeah.
So that was right along when all the singles were getting released. Because I was surprised, like this album came out in '89, but all the singles and stuff were like 90 through 91, really. So for the longest time, I thought this was a product of the '90s, legit and square. Like it sounds like a '90s album. It sounds like it belongs with all the 90s alt metal that doesn't quite fit into the grunge scene and is like in between, like punk and metal. It's just I love the early '90s. It's such an interesting hodgepodge of just genre mashing. And I feel like this fit in, but I think the fact that it was released in '89 and Faith No More was a band for about a decade before this came out means that they were very influential in forming like the '90s is what they are. The good and the bad will nod to new metal as well. Sorry, but
They
I agree with you guys though that this is basically a classic. I mean, it is a classic. It's not basically a classic. It is a classic. This was my first exposure to this band. I probably, you ask anyone who's a fan of Faith No More, this most likely was their first album that they heard. I feel like just because of the strength of, or not even the strength, but the fact that it was the one-hit wonder song, Epic, and they had Falling to Pieces around it and Surprise You're Dead also. So I feel like there's no way to escape the net that is those three songs.
and they were on Saturday Night Live.
Yep, that performance was amazing.
Yeah.
So they were in the mainstream at this point. They were a part of the mainstream rock music zeitgeist in basically 90 when all this stuff was being released. So yeah, it makes sense that a lot of people found Faith No More through The Real Thing. I don't have records like Chris, but this is my Goodwill find of the night. This is the cassette
That's pretty
of
cool.
The Real Thing. And it says it contains 2 extra songs, but guess what? It's the same track listing as on my CD. So I don't know what the fuck the 2 extra songs are. I hear on some War Pigs and Woodpecker from Mars are extra.
Yeah. Those weren't on the vinyl.
Yes.
The runtime was too long for them.
They were on my original CD copy. I wore that one out completely.
Mine too. But
yeah,
the track listing is all weird on this because it swaps. Edge of the World is after Zombie Eaters on here, and then it goes to side 2, and then it's The Real Thing, and then after Morning After it goes to Woodpecker, and then closes with War Pigs. So it's bizarre. I will admit that having Edge of the World as the closing track is a game changer, and it's got to be the final song you listen to on this album is Edge of the World, because I think that's just a perfect outro. Because honestly, the album feels like it naturally ends after the cover, and then it just goes to like quiet, and then you hear the and like this jazzy kind of vibe with it, and that might be one of the most Faith No More songs on this album. I'm so glad that made the cuts, and and that probably kind of shows off kind of where they were going with just zany out there tracks that don't make any sense. But I gotta say, not a bad song on here.
The LP ends at
is this an original or what is this?
No, this is a music on vinyl reissue. So the LP ends at Woodpecker from Mars. So War Pigs and Edge of the World were not included on the vinyl pressings because the runtime was too long. One thing too about on Brixton Academy, their live version of War Pigs is there was a Black Sabbath tribute, Nativity in Black, and Faith No More were on that. And then the live version of War Pigs on Nativity in Black was taken from this one at Live at Brixton Academy. And it's also been, I remember like another comp of some sort going around that also has the live version of War Pigs as well, which, really, for this time, bands were not covering Black Sabbath. And Black Sabbath were just looked as you found their stuff in cutout bins and all of that. So it really goes to show how at their roots, metal was a big influence for what they did, that they were covering Sabbath back in He just woke up from a nap.
Chris,
And
I can relate to your kitten. Your pussy troubles over there. It's all good.
he just woke up from a nap and he just took a big dump too.
Oh.
So he's ready to go.
In the same room?
No, not in the same room, but
Okay, good. Okay, good.
You know, I mean, the smell can kind of drift around though. So
it's all one room.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, the real thing.
Cheers, Marty, and everyone else in the chat. Jason, well said.
Yeah. How many people do we have in the chat watching tonight?
We got 24 people. It's been around that, which around these parts, we're doing pretty good.
Doing well.
I'm happy.
And then we're also having after this stream is over, we're also having a hang tonight too. Over on my channel, we'll be having a hang with, you know, just coming to watch, and some more people will jump on. So yeah.
Word.
Stick around. Don't go nowhere. Let's see. Wrapping up my take on the real thing. Yeah, I think the core of this album, though, Zombie Eaters and the real thing, like that 1-2 punch is really what made it. For the longest time, because this is actually, I picked this album up very early on. This is one of the first albums I ever purchased. And I was there for the singles in the beginning. Like I would love From Out of Nowhere through Surprise You're Dead. And then Zombie Eaters would come on. I'd be like, I have no idea what to do with this. This is like acoustic and quiet. And, you know, it took me a little bit to click with it. And then especially to click with the real thing. But as soon as I did, I don't know, that 1-2 punch is special. And that's, I think, those are my favorite tracks on the album. Underwater Love, I got to mention that song is, I don't know, that's fun. I don't know what it's about. It's about like your lover drowning or you drowning. Someone drowns and dies in it. That's all I can tell by deciphering the lyrics.
Spoiler alert.
Yep. Sorry, don't watch till the end. Woodpecker from Mars is indeed a great instrumental, and I will say this is just such a different band, songwriting wise, from the previous two albums. Like I don't know if, I guess it did sound like they were naturally going this way, and Mike Patton might have just helped and given them a push, and maybe this being the second album with Martin helped as well. But there's no way they could have written a song like The Real Thing before, or hell, even The Morning After. Like that song has the most 80s vibe and like sounds the closest to Introduce Yourself, but it's just so much more, it's better written in every way. Like it flows perfectly. The instrumentation is top notch. Yeah. So this is them realizing what they've been building to for 10 years at this point. And yeah, it's their best selling album too, I will say. I mean, it's their one hit wonder album. I think it's probably sold at least 4 to 5 million copies up to this point.
That was good.
They did good. It's probably still cashing some checks and stuff for them. So yeah, monumental album for them. And I think monumental album for just the decade, like 80s transitioning to the 90s and that whole scene. And really, the music videos were big on MTV. So I think even culturally, this was a big album. And yeah, I could see why. So Real Thing. So from there, it changes up a bit. Or actually, the lineup stays the same, but they change up their sound a lot. So we go to 1992 with Angel Dust, released in June. And to read one critic, this person said, the most complex and confounding records ever released by a major label. Nick?
That's fair. That is fair. All right, well, one of the main things in here is Jim Martin was not as involved in the songwriting, and this kind of became something that Patton really started to helm. Like, hey, let's get a stranger, let's push some boundaries. And this is my favorite Faith No More album. This is the GOAT for me right here. These songs, not only are they catchy, they're weird. Like some of these arrangements and everything on here are just nuts. This is like peak Mike Patton vocal power here too. He actually dropped down a little bit to kind of sing in a more comfortable crooning range, but he still reaches around. He's doing more shrieks and odd noises. The atmosphere in here is unnerving at times. Sometimes it's just strange and aloof. But, I mean, the songs themselves are absolutely amazing. Midlife Crisis should have been a bigger single. I don't know why it wasn't. That song's catchy. The funky rhythm in there, like it's got a great groove. It's got a great melody. The chorus fucking rules.
Way better than Epic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Putting it out
Hands
there.
down. In terms of like Faith No More singles, probably one of the best they ever released. I mean, Everything's Ruined also pretty damn good too. But it's the weird songs that stood out to me, like RV. RV, when I first heard that, I had like a whole mental image of like some kid trying desperately to beat the underwater level in fucking Super Mario Brothers while his asshole drunk stepdad just tells him, like, listen, back in my day, we used to do, anyway, give me another beer. That was the whole scenario that played in my head while listening to that song. That and the Elvis crooning on the chorus. But again, like the weirder songs in here jumped out, like Malpractice. Malpractice, to this point, one of the darker, heavier songs that this band has written. Like the funk elements kind of take a backseat for more strange atmosphere, harsher tones, and then the mighty Jizzlobber. Jizzlobber might be the darkest song they've ever written. It's the weirdest. It's just heavy and menacing. And yeah, like this whole rife with experimentation thing on here. I liked it. Now, again, Jim Martin was not keen on this one. He, again, wanted like something that was more guitar driven, and you had songs that had arguably less, guitar work just in terms of like, like bringing in like thrashy riffs and such. Like, yeah, you had good heavy riffs, but they were a little bit more repetitive, and you had more to do with like vocals and atmosphere. But the end result is just a fucking brilliant album. Caffeine might be my favorite Faith No More song. I don't know. It changes all the time. I love that song. Smaller and Smaller. Oh, dude, Be Aggressive. The whole story behind that one I thought was pretty interesting because we know Roddy Bottum is gay. And I guess it was a dare between him and Mike Patton. It's like, listen, I want to write the lyrics for this. And they might be a little homoerotic. I dare you to sing them. And Mike Patton was like, I'm backing away. I'll do it. The whole I swallow thing, that was essentially done on a dare, so I heard. And yeah, Mike Patton was like, no, I'll do it. I don't care. Let's do it. But yeah, this album is amazing. I was listening to this with with my mom in the car on our way to Cleveland to go see family. I put on a Faith No More mix, and back to back was Jizzlobber and Crack Hitler. When she looked down at the whole Apple Play, like, what the fuck? I was like, listen, they're a weird band, all right, Mom? It's okay. And Crack Hitler's, it's catchy. Just don't pay attention to the name. But yeah, this is probably one of the most essential 90s listens you will ever get. Like, this just defines the 90s and its weird experimentation and just how unique music could be. This is one of the best albums ever in heavy music, period. It's one of my favorites. Yeah, I love it. Someone else glow it up.
All right. We're taking turns with the circle jerk here. So
this is going to be a massive circle jerk. Wait, hold on. Come on, do the Superman. Show it. Come on. There it is.
Like an eagle. Oh, you're muted, man.
All right, sorry, but I was
True superhero.
My cat was crying back there.
Seen but not heard.
Anyways, yeah, Angel Dust. Absolutely perfect album for that era. It's just a total masterpiece. I absolutely love it. So what I have here, this is the OG CD that I bought way back in the day, and I always liked how they had the parental advisory sticker just sideways there. It's like what were they doing with that? What I also have is the Mobile Fidelity Gold CD that was released. That does sound so much better than the original CD that was released. It's a really good dynamic sounding CD. And then this is the Mobile Fidelity double LP, and this is straight from the analog tapes. So there is a music on vinyl pressing out there. That music on vinyl uses digital sources for everything. So this is analog, and it sounds awesome. Absolutely awesome. Double LP. So let me see here. Going back to when I remember when Angel Dust Midlife Crisis was the first single released for this album, and it was the first video. And going back to me being a teenager living at my mom's house, and I had my TV in my bedroom, I distinctly remember MTV Total Request Live, and they were saying, oh, the new, Faith No More videos out. Total Request Live was like, oh, they're out on a beach and everybody's dancing and having a good time. And there's like, here's the new Faith No More single called Midlife Crisis. And then it goes to the video, and the video is so dark and choppy. And then Mike Patton's vocals, like he's growling. And Midlife Crisis is a great song. It's an excellent song. One of my favorite songs off of this album. But it was just funny, just the contrast of MTV at that time, Total Request Live, we're on spring break at the beach, and here's Faith No More, Midlife Crisis, and then what that video and that song was like. Again, every song sounds different on this album. There are no two songs that sound alike. My favorite song off of this album has always been Everything's Ruined. I absolutely love that song. I love like the slap bass to it, and just crank it up and play it loud, and it sounds so good. And what I love about the video, if you go on YouTube and find the video, you're like, what's going on here with this? And so the backstory about the video, because I think that they had a budget to release 3 videos from this album, and Everything Ruined was like the last video, but they had gone through all of their money. So all they did was just use royalty-free footage for like a backdrop. So they just went into the studio for like an hour, and then in front of a green screen, and then they just played royalty-free footage in the background. So that's why it's like when you watch the video for it, you're like, what is this? And all it is just random clips of stuff that they were, that didn't cost anything for them to use. And Be Aggressive is like the cheerleader singing part of Be Aggressive, B-E aggressive, B-E-A-G. I mean, it was so, but then with the slap bass, and it's just so bouncy and just fun to listen to. It's like so good. That's another song that I absolutely love. And the girls who are doing like the cheerleader vocals for it, Mike Wallace was the producer. So it's like his niece and her friend are the girls doing the cheerleader vocals for Be Aggressive. Really good stuff. A Small Victory is an excellent song. Like that is a very well written, very
rousing.
Yeah. It's A Small Victory. That's just an excellent, well written song. I really like how there's that type of guitar tone to it that sounds like it's from like a mandolin or something, you know, of
It's very upbeat and like high up there.
Yeah.
Like that the main melody on it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've listened to this album front to back so many times. Kindergarten is another one that I really like. You know, like the whole like verse, like water fountains keep getting smaller, like all the time about being an adult in kindergarten, you know, and yeah, this is just an excellent album. It really is. Like this is after this album, it's kind of like when a band is so good, it's like, okay, this is your crowning achievement. It's time to change paths. You know, because you're not going to do. There aren't many bands like when you put out your perfect album, you're not going to make another perfect album. You need to do something different, which is what they did. And yeah, Angel Dust is just such an excellent album. It really is.
I can't live without it.
Yeah, it's
agreed.
well, and because I know that the Songs to Make Love To EP that came out right, yeah, like right around the time, because Angel Dust was released and then this came out soon afterwards. There's a Commodore song that they cover, Easy.
Easy.
One of the best
cover song.
Ever. Yeah,
absolutely.
And you know, like they in a respectfully way, they were respectful in the way that they played Easy. They didn't make it their own with organs and slap bass and all that. They did Easy just like the same way that the Commodores did.
That's the only thing that was different. Mike Patton was like, ugh.
Yeah,
I love that.
But and there is a video for this, and the thing, like when now I think that maybe this was a copyright thing, because this digipack, and I think that this was also released as a 7-inch.
Yeah, mine actually is just Easy.
Yeah, right. There's the one called Easy, and then this is called Songs to Make Love To. Now, do you have 3 songs on that, or are there 4?
I have 4. Easy, Das
Schützenfest,
Midnight Cowboy, the theme, and Let's Lynch the Landlord.
Yeah, so
that is mine as well.
You have Songs to Make Love To or Easy?
His songs make love to.
Songs meant to make love to.
Okay, yeah.
With the 4 tracks, you mean?
Yeah, it's the same 4 tracks. I love Das Schützenfest. Like that is such a good one, because I like German Schlager. Like Heino, like I love corny German Schlager, and that's totally what Das Schützenfest is it's just German Schlager. And I remember hearing like ages ago that I think Mike Patton is fluent in like a handful of languages.
Italian, for sure.
Yeah, Italian, German, Spanish. So it makes sense how he could sing in German. And then Midnight Cowboy was just taken from Angel Dust. And then Let's Lynch the Landlord. I think that's a Dead Kennedy song.
Yep.
So yeah, this is sort of like the accompaniment to Angel Dust, because this was released soon after Angel Dust, just like how Live at Brixton Academy was followed up.
Yeah, the following
real thing
year, at least from this one, 93. It's worth it just for Easy. Honestly, anyone that says Mike Patton's a bad singer, I get angry. Yeah, but I put on the cover of Easy just as like listen, shut up and listen.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Crack Hitler, Jizzlobber. Yeah, because Midnight Cowboy it's just the accordion, just really dark. It's a perfect outro for
after the intensity of the final jizz lobbing track. Track that, how do you lob a jizz? But
you probably got to cup your hand. Like,
have
they been eating a lot of meat? Is it cold in the room? Did it already curdle a little bit?
To calculate
These are the
the
important
arc,
questions.
we have to know this stuff to calculate the arc.
The
as it goes through.
particulars.
Yeah. So
But-
yeah,
Angel Dust.
Angel
Dude.
Dust.
Let the circle
kiss.
jerk. Let the circle
Oh.
jerk
I
continue.
know. Like if we were there, dude, we'd be jerking each other off right now. Rubbing
Dude,
the
will this
balls.
Angel Dust get? Oh yeah.
No, rub
Mike Patton, where are you?
Yeah.
Angel Dust. All right.
I'll show you jizz lobber, you know.
I won't make it to the end of the record. Just saying.
Come on, bro.
Oh.
Be aggressive. Be aggressive.
Hold on. I'm gonna dip out for just a second. Be right back.
Oh, good. After caffeine, I'm done. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Dude. I mean, you guys already said it. This is it. This is a perfect 10 out of 10 album for me. I mean, this is one of my favorite albums of all time. I have two different types of 10 out of 10s, you know, to get nerdy with the ranking. There's either the 10 out of 10 where every song is perfect. There's not like a bad song on the album. And then there's those 10 out of 10 tracks where I personally connect with the music, you know, I personally connect with the album, and it, you know, just strikes a special chord where even if it's not perfect, I look past the imperfections. Angel Dust is both. There's not a bad song on here. Every track is objectively perfect. And it's because of, as you said, Chris, they're all just so distinct, so unique, but they fit somehow perfectly on Angel Dust.
Yep.
And I think this is a very rewarding album to listen to as well, because for me, it was not an immediate, like, it clicked. Like, were you immediately hooked when you heard this, or did it take some time to get used to it?
I immediately, as a kid, you know,
Yeah.
going back to a kid, I immediately liked Midlife Crisis when I heard it.
Well,
When
me too.
Yeah. So the album didn't click with me immediately, but it's a very different album because the songs are just so out, you know, like, you know, it took, after it clicks with you, you're like, wow, this is a fucking awesome album. It really is, you know, it's, there are some things where it was like, Be Aggressive was another one. It took a few listens for me to get comfortable with it, because I've never heard cheerleading choruses in a song before, you know. But then after it clicked with me, I'm like, this is fucking awesome. And then, you know, it's just so good. It really is. There's not a dud on the album at all.
Not a dud. For me, for the longest time, like I'd already enjoyed The Real Thing, and this was my second Faith No More album to try to get to, and I could only listen to Midlife Crisis for a bit. As you said, that was the single. I loved it, but then I would venture away and I'd be like, what the fuck is RV? I couldn't get past that song. Just the weird vocals, and it's like a ballad, but it's not. And, you know, it's like sitting with a meth head at a trailer park. It's a trippy song. And then as soon as you get to like back like Malpractice, it's over the top in the craziest ways. So this one took some time for me to click with, but then, as you said, as soon as it clicks with you, every single fucking song clicks in a different way, and it's like a different experience with every track. And that's why this album is so good. It's because it doesn't try to be a cohesive piece. It's kind of a mess, but in being a mess, it becomes a cohesive piece of work, you know, that only Faith No More could put out. Like, it has the intense metal tracks like Malpractice and Jizzlobber, and then it's got like the more like straightforward, like more thrashy tracks, like Smaller and Smaller. What a fucking jam that track is. I love the repetition of that chorus. I keep coming back. And also perfect drum performance by Mike on that song, and really across this whole album. If I were to highlight my favorite section of Angel Dust, though, would be the beginning of the middle. So I kind of divide this album into halves. It's Land of
Mhm.
Sunshine through Malpractice is like the first half, and then Kindergarten through, Midnight Cowboy and Easy's like kind of the second. So my favorite section of the album is Kindergarten, Be Aggressive, and A Small Victory. That's like the catchy single section, but they're abstract, they're weird. They each have their own weird little piece to it. Like Kindergarten has that odd, like mumbly, like bridge where it's like he's almost scatting. Mike Patton is in it, and it makes no sense. But then at the same time, God, that song is uplifting. And Chris, you mentioned the lyrics. I love the lyrics to Kindergarten.
Mhm.
He's like,
Yeah.
Carve my initials in a tree I will
Yeah.
never leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Water fountains don't fit me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, just
Yeah.
Arrested Development in a song. I love it.
No.
Be
Okay.
Aggressive. You guys already nailed that track, dude. I love that. Then A Small Victory. What a wacky fucking single. Like, it's so catchy. It's got the "It doesn't bother me," no, but it does. And it's got these weird like samples too, as like the post chorus section. What a weird fucking song, dude. But it works so well and it's so catchy. And yeah, I'd never heard anything like it up to that point, So yeah, this album is one I will continue to revisit, and it's an all-time classic for me. There's no topping Angel Dust.
Goated.
I think we're all in agreement. Goated.
Yeah.
It's been my favorite for years. I can pop that on anytime, and it's like, dude, this was a great idea.
Yep.
This is the last album. Oh, this is the
You got the gold.
The gold CD.
Nice, yeah.
This was also the last album with Jim Martin.
Yep.
Who that's like the real lineup. Like whenever you think about Faith No More, you always think about Jim Martin with his hair and then wearing, like the 3 pairs of glasses in the video with his like biker vest on.
Dude, the first time I saw the Napalm Death logo, by the way. Sorry, because he always wore a Napalm Death shirt in like the live footage.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to. I didn't know that. When my understanding of Jim's departure was that he wanted to take his guitar work in more of a metal direction, and the core of the group didn't want that. So that's how Jim Martin, was either pushed out of the band or something like that. So that's my understanding about Jim's departure. But really, at this point, because this album is what it is, it was kind of like, okay, it's time for Faith No More to go into a different direction. It's. I think after this, he became a farmer. I know he was a competitive pumpkin farmer at some point. He did have a solo project. I
have not heard that. Solo project.
He had a solo project, and Inari Vats was the name. And anyone who's familiar with 90s porn knows the name Inari Vats. She was a 90s porn actress. And but there's like, I guess, some solo work, but I think really kind of maybe music. He just kind of just bowed out of music completely and just probably living on a ranch growing pumpkins or whatever. But there is like a demo or something out there about his band or whatever, and Inari Vats was either the name of the band or the song. But yeah, Zachary Seibert right here, you're saying Jim wanted Faith No More to be a metal band. Right, yeah. But
there's some straight up metal, extreme metal tracks on this one. I don't know if Jim helped to record them, like write them, but Jizzlobber's
a metal
extreme fucking metal. Malpractice definitely is smaller and smaller. So
I mean, the main riff on Caffeine, like that's a good chuggy metal riff.
yeah, maybe he just wasn't a fan of how they were like splintering and incorporating everything else in. Like he didn't want to be on a song like RV or something. I don't know, like because I even still saw them going in a metal direction with the album we'll talk about in a second. So I don't know if I ever got that, like why he was like, oh, they're not metal enough for me, I'm out, you know.
I like how James G. Warrior right here, he said The 69th Cent is her best film. So James G. Warrior knows I Nary Vots from 90s porn.
I don't think I've ever watched like a parody porn, like, you know, Edward Penis Hands or any of that shit.
90s porn was like the golden era of porn, and Nary Vots was one of the starlets for that era.
All right. I think you already mentioned this, but this was the easy single, not the, you know, songs to make love to, but just easy, which came out after Angel Dust. And this one has Easy, then it has Easy Live, and it's got Be Aggressive, Land of Sunshine, RV, Kindergarten, and A Small Victory, all recorded live. And it looks like Munich and other cities in Germany, it looks. So this was another just random record store find from this era I wanted to mention real quick.
Okay. Well, is that a maxi? Is that a slimline CD?
Nope.
Or no, it's a regular one. There were, during that time, there were a good amount of slimline CD singles for Angel Dust. Like,
I wish this was.
yeah. I like the slimline CD singles. Those were good.
I don't often come about them, but I like them too because it separates that, you know, this is not an album. This is just one song, you know. So the packaging is you know, according. So you only get a slim piece of physical media.
There's a slimline CD single for, it's a maxi single, but for A Small Victory, the one where the cover is the lineup of, I think, Russian military but they have their faces cut and paste onto them.
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Dude, I would love to pick that up if I can find it in a Goodwill or something. So Angel Dust, goated. We've done it. We've put the flag up. Where do they go from here? So unfortunately, first off, as we've already talked about, Martin left the band. According to Rodney Bottom, he was fired via fax, which in the 90s, what are you going to do?
Fax machine. Yeah, that's how you got to let someone know.
Can you imagine that, though? It's slowly coming out. You see half of it, and you're like,
"You are
promoted?
Oh, fuck you guys."
But so after that happened, they were, you know, trying to find another guitarist to replace it. According to Wikipedia, Justin Broderick and Geordie Walker from Killing Joke were both invited, but they settled upon Trey Spruance from Mr. Bungle. So
yeah,
I think the Mr. Bungle influence was definitely already there in Angel Dust.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it continues on their next album, King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime, which was released March of 1995. So, Nick, take it away, my friend.
God, this one, it could be my second favorite. It has that weird charm that Angel Dust has, but it's a little bit more elaborate. Like, I guess this is like one of those albums where you could say they address the argument that a jack of all trades is the master of none. I think they kind of proved them wrong because this is probably like their most wild batch of songs, like vastly different ones. like the standouts for me, I mean, Evidence is kind of a slow, brooding, funky song. Star AD is like big band Faith No More. It's one of my favorites on here. Cuckoo for Caca, one of the heaviest songs I think they've ever written. And that's where I found out that the nickname for Mike Borden was Puff. Take it from our drummer Puff, being good, it gets you stuff. Yeah, that's his nickname for the dreadlocks. But like this is one I would describe as like almost like a starter point for getting into like more avant-garde stuff. You know, you could probably make that argument for Angel Dust, but I feel like that one's a little bit more centered as far as the sound. Like there are points in here it sounds like Mike Patton is fronting different bands. It's wildly different. But I mean, you still got some heavy bangers on here. Ricochet, Get Out, The Gentle Art of Making Enemies. Dig in the Grave was a good single. Ugly in the Morning. Actually, someone commented on the post I made about this. He said, for the longest time, I thought Ugly in the Morning, he was saying, I'm ugly and I'm horny. You know what? That happens. But I don't know, like this album is a strange journey. Again, I feel like you're listening to a multitude of different bands because they are flat out tackling a lot of like entirely different styles. And they're doing it for like an entire song. It's not just like, oh, this had like a weird little segment where they went like blues for a second. It's the entire song, like Take This Bottle. My God. Faith No More possibly wrote one of the best like Tear in My Beer songs ever. But yeah, like this is just a really interesting album. And I come back to this one almost as much as I come back to Angel Dust. Trey's guitar work, decidedly different. He's just kind of playing like more straight up rock riffs, but there are some like clever little weird nuances. He likes a little bit more like distant stuff every now and then. But yeah, like the overall vibe of this is just fuck it. Let's just do something wild. Like we're not, you know, clearly we got snubbed by the radio, even though we wrote a better single than Epic, arguably. So let's just say fuck singles. If one of these makes it, cool, fine. Dig in the Grave, I think, did all right. Evidence, kind of a low-key single. It's got a really fucking cool video. But this was just them kind of just throwing caution to the wind and getting even more experimental. And yeah, this is just a fun album. Like, it's just really well. Plus, the special edition even has the versions in Italian for like Evidence and which was the other one? Oh no, that one's in Spanish. There's one that's in it's in Evidence in Portuguese. Yeah, so and it's awesome. Like the vocal flow on it is honestly even fucking just smoother. But yeah, this is just a really unique, another characteristic 90s album where, you know what, fuck it, let's just try anything. And again, this is them kind of embracing their underground status. Like, you know, all right, we're not going to be a pop band, whatever. Like, our singles are too weird, but fuck it, we can still write some killer tunes.
Very nice. All right, Chris.
All right, so King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. There was a time when this was my favorite Faith No More album. It's definitely a change from Angel Dust, but it was a necessary change because they weren't going to do any better than Angel Dust. You know, it's a thing kind of like, you know, Jim Martin's out of the band. Now it's time to kind of maybe change your image a bit. Your songs maybe have a different tone. They're not as wild, you know, as they were on Angel Dust. And that's what King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime is, which is an excellent, excellent album. What I have here now, this is a sealed OG that I have.
Ooh.
I picked this up way back ages ago. I think what I'm going to do is just record a video where I open it up on a stream. The only thing about it is that the shrink is just kind of, there's a tear there. So this is a true factory sealed OG, not some scammer, you know, reseal bullshit. So this is a real sealed OG. I have the CD. Unfortunately, it came with a sticker. I lost the sticker, unfortunately. And then what I also have here is this is the music on vinyl pressing, which sounds very good. It's a very excellent, very good sounding pressing. And then I have 2 singles. So the first single that was released from King for a Day is Digging the Grave, which is an excellent song. One of my favorite songs off of the album. So this is a European 12-inch maxi single for Digging the Grave. This is for promotional use, not for sale. So it's a promo.
And here you are promoting it, so we're good.
Right. And then one thing that's cool about this is that so on side A it's 45 RPM, Digging the Grave, and then Ugly in the Morning on side A. And then on side B, Cuckoo for Kaka, and then there's a song called Absolute Zero. And Absolute Zero, it was not on the album. It's just a B-side. And it's an excellent song. And if it would be probably one of my top 3 favorite songs from this album.
This one,
yeah. That's the 2 CD.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's on. It was released later on the I think 2016 or so when they did the double CD reissues. Absolute Zero. Yeah. So it's this is like the definitive sort of, if you wanted like an ultimate high quality vinyl pressing of Absolute Zero, this is how you would get that. Yeah, Andy Man 73, Absolute Zero is a great song. That's one of those songs where Mike Patton's vocals, he really sings, and now another song that I love off of King for a Day is Ricochet.
Yep.
I think Ricochet and is an excellent song. And this is the thing about King for a Day. The best B-sides are from King for a Day. So you have Absolute Zero, which is a B-side. Now this is a 45 RPM 12-inch single for Ricochet. Right there, the Slash logo. And then the B-sides for this one are Spanish Eyes, which is an Engelbert Humperdinck song, but written by Burt Bacharach. And then
I want
to fuck myself. Yeah. They also another there was another single. There's a Bee Gees cover that they did. I Started a Joke.
Yep.
Which was another B-side for, I can't remember which song, but that was another B-side from one of the King for a Day songs. So I saw what did Hyde
Eric, he's at it, man.
He'll take the deep cuts on the real thing over. Well, yeah, I mean, Eric,
each your own.
Yeah, to each their own, man. I'm telling you, it's going back to the album itself, not the B-sides. Ricochet is a great song. Digging the Grave, I love that song. Another song that I like a lot too is What a Day.
Yep.
Which is it's on side D, so it's one of the songs towards the end of the album. What a day, you can lose another day. But it has like that again. It's one of those ones with like the funky slap bass. Dun, 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 it's really good fucking song. I love that song. Take This Bottle. Take this bottle
and just walk
away.
Yeah. Get Out. I mean, they opened this album on. When a band, like when you when the opening song is something that's just like bam, right in your face, like you're like, oh, if you don't have your volume at the right level, you're like, oh my god, turn it down. But yeah, Get Out is a really good one. King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime, excellent album.
That's a chill vibe, yeah.
I've known a bunch of my friends from way back when we were younger. This was everyone's favorite. Over time, I've gone back to Angel Dust as being my favorite. And then this is this is probably second.
Yep.
With The Real Thing being third. But then, by Defamation TV, he's like, he's just talking trash in the chat right now, man. Look at that. Yeah, The Real Thing non-radio cuts. Yeah,
they're great.
Zombie Eaters rules.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, Zombie Eaters is great.
Hear me out. There's a song called Crack Hitler.
Yeah.
I mean,
seriously, does Real Thing have jizz lobber? It lobs no jizz. Just saying.
Isn't that what The Real Thing is about, though?
The Real Thing non-radio cuts, man.
Isn't the title track of The Real Thing about the first time you come and you're like, it's never the same again.
But you don't complain when it happens again. I've never been inconvenienced by an orgasm.
Yeah, I've faked before. I've faked because I was with a girl who I really didn't want to be with.
I've tried it like once.
I've faked. Yeah, women fake all the time, but for a guy to fake, it's kind of.
Are you sure you did? Yep, totally did.
Yep. I'm done. All right, time to go home now. But yeah, anyways, back to this.
Faith No More never faked.
Star AD.
I love that song.
See, the ones the songs that I really like the most off of this one are the ones that where they don't veer too much into the kind of the. I like the ones that are just more straightforward, kind of just good rock sounding songs where Mike Patton is just really himself with his vocal styles. Not really, because after Angel Dust, it's like, okay, I'm good with the organs and all of that, and this one is kind of just more like a good straightforward rock album in a lot of ways, at least with what I think for a lot of the singles, like Digging the Grave and Ricochet is an excellent song, especially with Mike Patton's vocals, and then Absolute Zero, excellent B-side.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this has been one of the weirdest journeys for an album. Like, I initially just kind of breezed past it on my Faith No More journey. It was like Real Thing, Angel Dust, and then I ended up with a copy of Album of the Year along the way. I never got around to picking up King for a Day, and I was like, well, I love Angel Dust. There's no way. It was kind of what we already alluded. How do you follow up a perfect album? Like, there's that issue that every band faces. How do you follow up just a 10 out of 10 release? And oftentimes for me, it's like, it's not going to be the same. I probably don't need to hear it. It's not something I'm going to track down and try to enjoy as much as I would enjoy Angel Dust. I'll just listen to Angel Dust again, and boom. So for the longest time, I did not hear this, and it took my younger sister. She, I almost don't want to, bring it up since we've been talking about lob and jizz so much in this stream, but she got into this album somehow. I think from just me showing like the other Faith No More, or playing Faith No More loud just growing up. It finally clicked with her, and one time recently, within the past couple of years, I was over there, and she was like, "Have you heard Ugly in the Morning?" Like, yeah, of course. And she played it, and I guess I hadn't heard it in the right way because it was entirely different, and I was like, that song is fucking awesome. Just unhinged Mike Patton performance, top notch. And then after that, I was like, let me just listen to this whole album again, make sure I was actually paying attention to it. And I was hooked about as much as I was hooked on Angel Dust. Like, this is my second favorite Angel Dust. I'll give it away. But this could still be like a 10 out of 10 album. I'm still kind of deciding. It's so wacky and out there, just like Angel Dust is, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, Angel Dust is like the songs in of themselves are all over the place, and like, oh God, here's the cheerleading squad. Oh God, here's, crazy, spoken word crack Hitler sections. This is in the album itself. There's the biggest extreme like swings of songwriting. Like, the songs individually in of themselves make sense. Like, Star AD is like, whoa, this is a jazz band in space fronted by Mike Patton. But what a song. And like, the Ugly in the Morning is just unhinged and crazy. But then you put them all together, like, and it's just a off the wall kind of album. And it, as soon as I actually, I guess, gave a shit enough to listen to it, this just clicked with me. And it does have more of a radio rock feel. I don't know who mentioned that, but like, I guess it is the change up in guitarist to the Mr. Bungle guy, but the guitar, the riff writing on tracks like Get Out and Ricochet and Digging the Grave and Gentle Art of Making Enemies is a bit more straightforward, and those songs are a bit more straightforward, but still have that zaniness that make Faith No More. And then you just cram the most extreme styles of their sound in there with Cuckoo for Kaka, which I actually did not know the drumming reference. Or I knew it was about a drummer, but I thought it was like, gets you stuffed, like he got fired or something.
Shit
or
lives forever, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely like how he was describing the white sheen of the Kaka in that song. Take This Bottle is an absolute masterpiece of a song. And then when they all harmonize towards the end, Take This Bottle and Walk Away. The Last to Know is a great, like, almost outro song, and you think it is done. And then Just a Man. What a fucking closer Just a Man is. And there's a fucking choir. It gets orchestral and like godlike. And what about that spoken word section where Mike Patton is like, man, he wants to be like Icarus, fly close to the sun. But me, to touch the wings and face of God. But me, I am just a man. And that whole song is chills. That's one of their best tracks for sure. So,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Go for it, dude.
I think what's interesting about this album is how we all have different takes on what our favorite songs are off of this album, because
there's
a lot
so
of
variety.
There is. It's like everything that Logan, what you've said are your favorite songs are on the album, are not my favorite songs on
That's
the
crazy.
album. Like my favorite songs are Ricochet, Digging the Grave, and then Absolute Zero, the B-side, and then also What a Day.
Wow.
Which is the third to last song. Which those mostly are just more straightforward rock type of songs. But the ones that you like are the ones that are kind of more.
They're the polar opposites. They're like the extremes.
The
Cuckoo for Kaka.
Cuckoo for Kaka.
Just a Man.
It runs like a mixtape. Like someone just put on like a mixtape. Like, these are like like 4 or 5 of my favorite bands. Yeah, sure, they all share the same singer. But yeah, that's the thing I love about that album is like track listing. It's extreme shifts on almost every track, and that makes it like quite an adventure to listen to.
Yeah, it's just an exciting album, and it's one of those that I'm still growing to love it. Like I don't know if it is a 10 out of 10. I want to call it that, but it. There's some tracks I don't love quite as much as I do the others, and it. Yeah, we'll see. But I whenever I revisit it, it's always fun. It's always a blast. I always play it a couple times, and preparing for this stream. What an easy and just fun listen to at like an hour-long runtime also. So, yeah, King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. Just a 1B in accordance to the 1A of Angel Dust. So, I don't know if you guys have any like other promotional material from this era. This is mine.
Okay.
32 cents for a postage stamp. My ass. This will send you. Oh, that's the tagline right there. And we got actually spanning the whole career here. So I always disagreed with the singles for this album, but it's what you guys said. They we wrote the catchiest song as a single. It didn't work. Shit in the wind,
Digging the Grave, they had a video for Digging the Grave, and I remember that too because that was also, this is when Faith No More, they adopted more of the clean cut wearing suits type of aesthetic. Like everything up through Angel Dust was, Jim Martin with the big hair with all the glasses, and Mike Patton wearing skids, and like all that. But then King for a Day is when it's like they have this clean cut look, even in the liner notes, their portraits, the video for Digging the Grave, they're wearing suits, they're and all of that. So there was they were making a new image for themselves when this album came out. So
yeah. That's an interesting aesthetic choice, I guess. Maybe that's part of the tongue-in-cheek nature they're going for on here. But yeah, this has got the 3 singles: Digging the Grave, Ricochet, Evidence, and then we got Midlife Crisis, From Out of Nowhere, and We Care a Lot. So they were trying to go the whole catalog, and this might have been the last. Well, I guess was Album of the Year released on Reprise? It was.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the Reprise years up to this point on this little promotional package. So that's one of the perks of Faith No More being like a major label band. There's all these random singles and
what
DVDs and stuff.
What songs are on that CD single that you have?
Outside of the 3 singles from King for a Day, we've got Midlife Crisis, From Out of Nowhere, and We Care a Lot. So they did one of each from their previous albums, I guess. So it's a fun little thing to own, to just be able to get a good snapshot of their discography in 20 minutes. So there we go. King for a Day. And from that one, we go to their final album of the patent and really their initial run. Album of the Year was released in June of 1997, and it features another new guitarist, John Hudson. I don't know, does he have any other credits? I'm only realizing this because it's on Wikipedia, but
Soul Invictus.
Oh, is he still on Soul Invictus? Okay.
Yep.
Well, there we go.
I got this.
Album of the Year.
Not this copy. I still have my original copy, but it barely plays because I played the shit out of it. I got it the day it came out. I was stoked for some new Faith No More. And this album, I like it, but this is the one I would call as a very front-loaded album because I think a lot of the best songs are like the first half. Like, honestly, after Ashes to Ashes, I feel like this album kind of takes a bit of a nosedive, but this one definitely represents a way more stripped down approach. Like, yeah, it's still weird and quirky. Like Mouth to Mouth is, kind of interesting. Naked in Front of the Computer is a good punky kind of hardcore jam. But a lot of the songs pretty stripped down. Like, not a lot of like embellishment in terms of like guitar work or even like the synth passages. But it still works. Like Last Cup of Sorrow, great single, great music video. Honestly, in terms of their music videos, it's probably one of my favorites because they're aping fucking Vertigo the entire time, which is like one of my favorite fucking Hitchcock flicks. But I don't know, it's an interesting collection of songs. Like I love Strip Search. Helpless, I think, is a really good kind of like dark, emotional fucking listen. Ashes to Ashes might have one of the biggest fucking choruses this band has ever written. Like, my God, that is one of my favorite choruses, period. Like, it's huge. It's epic. But towards the back of the album, it just kind of drops off. Like, Got That Feeling's all right. She Loves Me Not, it's never really been one of my favorites. Past the Glories, it's okay. Like, it's a lot of okay songs. And, yeah, like, I think part of that, it might be John Hudson. Like, I'm not trying to say his guitar work's boring, but it's very by the numbers. Like, to the point where I feel like Billy Gold was probably doing more underneath with the bass licks than there were in the way of riffs. Like, I mean, even like Last Cup of Sorrow is very straightforward, very basic riff, but it's a good one. I don't like dislike this one, but it is lower. Like, this one would probably be below Real Thing for me. The standout songs are standouts. They're strong, but again, as a whole album, it feels a little bit, I don't know, like kind of empty at points. Like, they were kind of running out of ideas. They didn't want to get too weird anymore, I guess. They kind of wanted to maybe fit in a little bit more with maybe the new metal pack. Like, even the photo shoots that I saw when this album was coming out, they kind of had, they didn't look like, they weren't wearing the suits or anything. They were just kind of looking like any like new metal band out there, except Mike had his pristine slick back hair. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I like this album, but it's definitely not a favorite. And again, after Ashes to Ashes, it kind of does fall off the table a little bit, but still good.
All right, Chris.
Okay, so album of the year, a mysterious title for like why did they name this album of the year? And so going to the track listing now, I have, this is the CD that I had from way back when, and then this is also the music on vinyl pressing, which sounds excellent. It's only a single LP, though. It's not a double 45. Collision is a great song. Ashes to Ashes, like Nick, what you were saying about the chorus, about Ashes to Ashes, I love that song. Ashes to Ashes is a great song, absolute great song, and the chorus is awesome. The one thing that I wish that they would have done, though, is for the chorus in the mix is boost the chorus a little more, because I feel like the chorus is sort of buried somewhat when it really should have been. It should have had more emphasis in the mix, because the chorus is hold on. Smiling.
Yep. Yeah.
With the mouth of the ocean.
With the mouth of the ocean.
In the eyes of the, like all that. It's such a great chorus. It's excellent. And I wish that when they mixed it, they would have sort of just put more oomph into the mix.
How that one didn't take off as a single, because it was one they did a video for. It's a pretty good video too. Like it has like all the things you look for in a big fucking rock single, but I don't know. It didn't take off.
It was also the time too, because this was 1996, 97-ish though.
97.
So at that time, Faith No More, late 90s, things were metal, hard rock, were all going in a different direction. And, this got buried in what was big at the time. This type of sound wasn't big anymore.
Yeah.
I still think it's an excellent album. For me, it's, like right where you're at, where it's probably number 4, right behind the real thing. But now one song that I really like a lot off of this one is Pristina, the last song. It's very slow and it's doomy in a way where it's just that like doomy droning guitar riff. I'm watching you, man. It's just Patton harmonizing, and then it's just and I kind of felt that is kind of like their way of saying, fade to black. We're out. This is it. Like as sort of like that's the feeling that I always got from that song, is like that's how they're closing the book on Faith No More. They knew that at least at this time, there was like, after this album we're done, that song kind of is like, okay, we're closing the book on Faith No More. That's how I feel about that song. And I think Pristina is an excellent song. The opener, Collision, is really good. Last Cup of Sorrow. But again, Ashes to Ashes is just the absolute icing on the cake. Where's the what song is it that has like the
Mouth to Mouth?
Mouth to Mouth. Yeah.
Mouth to Mouth.
Yeah. That one's really good too. So yeah. Album of the year, excellent album.
Yeah. I
never saw any videos for it though. I should go and check them out.
Strip Search and Ashes to Ashes have videos. Strip Search
those
one.
Those are the two that I saw.
Yeah,
yeah,
pretty cool. They're good videos. Like, I mean, the record label definitely gave them some money on those videos for sure. They're pretty well shot.
Apparently, Last Cup of Sorrow has a video too.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one, honestly.
It's all themed after Hitchcock's Vertigo.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Strip Search was one of the first Faith No More songs after like the initial Real Thing. It's funny. This album is my second purchased Faith No More album, and probably the one I'm most familiar with outside of the Real Thing, or at least owned the longest. But yeah, I second what you guys have already said. It just does not feel inspired in the same way that the other three leading up to this one have. It feels a bit more plodding, a bit slower. Like the tracks are just not as excited. Like the people playing them don't sound as excited to be there. In my opinion, like. Maybe that's the guitar work speaking. Maybe the guitar work did take a plunge from the eccentric style of Martin and of the Mr. Bungle guy, and we're kind of just left with Patton and Mike Bodine like kind of carrying the playing, like the instrumentation here, and it was still a great album, and I've enjoyed this throughout the years, but this is never the reason I listen to Faith No More. This is always like a afterthought after I've played Real Thing or Angel Dust or King for a Day. This is, always the bridesmaid, never the bride kind of album, always in the shadow of others. And it's like, because it's borrowing styles from other eras and not creating or crafting its own unique style, in my opinion. Like you were saying, like Mouth to Mouth, I was like, oh man, that track right there, that's like a callback to maybe a section you'd find off of Angel Dust, or like Last Cup of Sorrow or Strip Search. I feel like you could find that off of King for a Day. You know, it just doesn't have the same cohesive feel that the other albums do for me. And it still has great tracks. I mean, this is just my way of saying it's not a perfect, it's not like a 9 out of 10. This is still easily an 8 out of 10 album any day of the week. And to heap some praise on it, because it does deserve praise. Collision is a great opening track. Just, good heavy start before it gets into the Patton performance, which I think Patton is pretty great on this album overall. He probably carries it, along with the bass and the drums. Track 4, Naked in Front of the Computer. It's happening more and more every day, but I like that. It's very riff forward and great chorus. My favorite track on the album is actually Helpless. You mentioned that a little bit, Nick. That's my favorite song. It has the most variety, and it opens up very slow, but then as it's closing out, Mike is getting more and more like amped up vocally, and he's like screaming, "Help!"
It's vulnerable and dark, and it's still just done in a Faith No More manner, where they took something that is, I mean, it could have been just a straightforward rock song, but they tweaked it.
It changed it.
Well, and then the way that I feel about Album of the Year is the same way I feel about King for a Lifetime, is that after Angel Dust, it was kind of like, okay, so their music style, they toned it down a bit more, but now they're letting Mike Patton be more in the forefront. It's like, okay, this is Patton's band. He's a talented vocalist. Let's let Mike Patton be sort of like in the forefront of Faith No More. And yes, musically, the songs will still have kind of more straightforward rock songs. We'll have sort of more crazy church organ metal songs and all of that. But let Mike Patton be Mike Patton and do his thing. And that's the thing. With King for a Day and Album of the Year is where I feel like Mike Patton really got to be Mike Patton with his vocals. And I think that Ashes to Ashes is one of those ones where he really comes out and he just absolutely, just the chorus of it is just such an excellent chorus,
Yeah. I mean, I agree in that the feeling of the instrumentation overall is just like, step back. Like, let's just peel back all of the instrumentation and the complexity and just make more room for the singer. I don't want to paint Patton like that, because I don't feel like he would demand something, but
I think it was a band idea.
It probably was. Yeah.
If this is a Faith No More by numbers album, it's still good.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely. Like, for me, the finish going through the track list, you guys already mentioned Mouth to Mouth, Ashes to Ashes. Man, Chris, well said. That's absolutely a top tier track on there. She Loves Me Not is actually a great, I think, like ballad-esque song. But then, so got that feeling, good uplifting song. But then I'm kind of with you, Nick. I can't get into the closing 3 tracks, Paths of Glory, Homesick Home, and Pristina. It's just all like a dirge of the doominess. I mean, Chris, hearing you talk about how you feel about Pristina makes me want to listen to it again, with that kind of, seeing it as their like goodbye, swan song, kind of like, waving out to the crowd kind of thing.
And then look at the album cover.
It just seems lackluster in the vibe of the album and of their discography. But yeah, maybe that's them right there. They're this guy, What is this from a perspective of a train? What is he in?
Train is leaving the station.
Station, yep.
I do.
They announced a breakup not too long after that dropped.
Yeah, because when this came out in 1997, I think,
Yep.
and then Soul Invictus,
It's 2015.
2015. So I mean, that's
yeah. Let me see if I can pull up
it's a long time.
my Wikipedia article here.
22 years.
Pristina, they were they were probably like, this is our last album, you know, and I feel like Pristina was the song that it's like, you know, we're fade to black.
Yep.
Roll the credits, you know, that's really how I feel about that song.
Maybe they were kind of over the music business for them. This was their touring band for 1997. Limp Bizkit. That was their opening act, apparently.
Yeah, I'd be over music too.
Yeah. So apparently in early 1998, that's when rumors started about their demise, and Mike Patton quit the band in favor of the side projects. And I think, was it Falafel earlier in the chat was just putting in that individual members were more interested in what else they were doing outside of it. I mean, Patton was still with Mr. Bungle. In fact, in 1998, Mr. Bungle had a pretty big release, in my opinion.
California?
Yeah, California.
Oh, dude, Retro Vertigo is such a fucking great song. I love that song.
We will get to that song for sure.
We'll get to honorable mentions in a bit.
Absolutely. So yeah, they Faith No More played their last show in Lisbon, Portugal, April 7th, 1998. They canceled all their remaining support for Aerosmith. They were on the Aerosmith tour. What an odd combination. And Billy Gold by fax released a statement. He likes his fax machines. The decision among the members is mutual, and the split will now enable each member to pursue his individual projects unhindered. There you go. So, and then 2009 is when they kind of got back together to play shows. They started out in the UK, and I know like pretty early on they like headline Download and stuff. You know.
Well, I saw them play when they got back together. Yeah, that was when I saw them. I was living in New York at the time, and they played in Brooklyn at the Williamsburg Waterfront, I think was the name of the venue. So it was in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, right on the river. And this was one of the first shows that they'd played since they got back together. And where we saw them, I mean, it was obvious that they hadn't played together in a long time because they did fuck up a lot during the set. But I remember leaving and being really disappointed because they didn't play any songs that I wanted to hear. like they didn't play any songs that I wanted to hear them play. It was like if they could have strategized a playlist that was of nothing I wanted to hear, then that's what they did. Because
fuck Chris.
Yeah, everyone else, we want you to have a good time, except for him. Fuck him.
Yeah. So that was when I saw them. And I guess that was like 2009, 2010, around then, when they were just getting back together for the first time and starting to play live again since, album of the year. So by that point, that had been over 10, 12 years, and so that was when I saw Faith No More.
I know. As I said, I think just hearing that they were playing like Download and I guess just touring again was my first, being like, oh, they're kind of back, and it's just interesting. I'm just taking note of their set list because I did look at some of the set lists from, back then. There was a lot of where'd I put my cassette? Oh shit! There was a lot of Weak Care-a-Lot material. I don't know where I put that fucking thing, but there was like a couple. Yeah, it's right here. Off of this, and it was I thought it was a weird set list from. I went back as far as like 2012. They were also doing apparently covers of Poker Face by Lady Gaga, Ben by Michael Jackson, and Switch by Sookie and the Banshees. So I don't know. It's pretty interesting. But yeah, so they were basically playing, live and stuff from 29 through up until 2015 starts, and then we're doing a new album basically. So May 29th, 2014, Faith No More posted a message saying that they're going to debut new songs and there's a new album on the horizon. And the new songs were Motherfucker and Superhero, and the new album was this one, Soul Invictus. Nick, you ready?
I am ready.
All right.
We had a flat out listening party, I think, at my house.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, it was probably Noonan and Rin, and we just sat around just like, oh my God, Faith No More back. This is so fucking awesome, because we're all like fucking diehards for this band. And honestly, I love this album. I like this one more than Album of the Year. This one, it's energetic again. Honestly, this musically kind of sits between like Album of the Year and King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. It's not like a full-on return to like the classic, like Angel Dust stuff, but it has that unique flair from track to track where the songs really do stand out. Motherfucker was the first song I heard, and it was like, dude, this is fun. And then that chant, that refrain, I even got my mom singing that one with me. I was like, come on, it's fun, right? It's fun. But yeah, this one, it just kind of brings back like the looseness. The songs have character again. Like I love Sunny Side Up. That is just a fun, like little kind of like jazzy swing to it. But I like these darker songs like Cone of Shame, Separation Anxiety, and Matador. Matador. My God, I fucking love that song. Dude, everything about this album is pretty much just what I wanted. And honestly, John's guitar work in here is a lot better. It's a little bit more lively. You got some good punkier riffs in there, some flat out metal stuff in there too. The atmosphere in here is really fucking cool. Like Roddy did a lot of cool stuff with not only like vocals and just like a straightforward keys, but there's a lot of like kind of like creepy production, like especially on Separation Anxiety. You get those like reverby noises in the background. It kind of adds to like the unnerving nature of the song. Drum work in here is awesome. I mean, this was pretty much everything I could have asked for outside of them just, and no, actually, no, I don't want them to like try to like match Angel Dust. Leave that one alone. Just write a good album. And they flat out did. Like, this is just, this is such a fun album. I'm still going back to the memory of us just sitting around fucking, I think we were probably drinking that night too. And just like, oh my God, this is my new favorite song. And Superhero, solid fucking single. Like, that was just like a good raucous one. It showed them they were, getting heavier again. Yeah. I love this entire album. It's a great comeback album. It's exactly what I wanted. Well, maybe a different album cover. This album cover just kind of weirds me out.
The whole packaging of the album is a bit
weird. The kid on the back doesn't look comfortable either. He looks like he's really itchy. Like, I don't know if that's like a hot like wool fucking headdress there or something. He doesn't look comfortable. No one looks comfortable. But the album's amazing.
Solid take.
All right. This is interesting because everything you've mentioned about what you like about this album isn't what I would have said that I like about it.
It's the Faith No More effect.
So I do like this album a lot. My favorite song off of this album is Black Friday, which is what I really like about it is the acoustic guitar, but then also the hand clapping and then the castanets or like I just think that's so awesome. I mean, it just has such a good rhythm to it.
Fun fucking rhythm.
Yeah, it's so good. And the hand clapping is just so good. And it's so unique, like how many times have you think about songs that you've liked where hand clapping really stands out as part of what you like about the song? Right. Yeah, hand clapping. I mean, that's right up there with like tambourines and shit, like, but So yeah, that's my favorite song off of this album. Superhero is really good. Motherfucker, kind of, I get annoyed by the just hearing motherfucker over and over again. But
I dig it.
yeah, it's and you know what? I'm guilty of, I haven't spent enough time with this album. I haven't listened to it enough. It definitely falls in line with just being an album that's more rock sounding, gone are the days of Angel Dust and all of, the organs and all of that. This is just a more straightforward rock album. It's still very good. It's dark. It's definitely very dark. But yeah, I think Black Friday is my favorite. Out of every song you mentioned that you liked, you didn't mention Black Friday.
I like that song.
My favorite song.
It's almost kind of like when I first heard it, I was like, man, this is almost kind of like a weird Queens of the Stone Age song. I like it, but
Yeah.
the one that grabbed me the most was Matador. Matador, wow, love that song.
Yeah, that's a good one. Rise of the Fall is another one that's really good too. But
Yep.
Man, I love that hand clapping and the castanets or whatever they're called on Black Friday. It's an excellent song. This is the one album that I don't own on vinyl, but I'm gonna need to pick that up at some point. But yeah,
Nice. Yeah. Man, this is crazy. Honestly, if doing this deep dive and just reflecting on my relationship with Faith No More has taught me anything, I've kind of just been an asshole to this band. I've made them like the underdog over and over again. Like I'm always like, I don't know if your album is that good, and then I keep listening to it and keep listening to it and keep listening to it. And so when this came out in 2015, I was actually only a fan of The Real Thing at that time. I hadn't even clicked with Angel Dust yet. And the single Motherfucker, I was like, what? What is this? Like this is not a song. I didn't realize that at the time that it was an anthem. I was just like, this is not what I'm looking for. Kind of passed. So I didn't end up checking out any of the album. I think I also heard Superhero 2 and was just not like impressed or taken away with it. So I finally purchased this album and started listening to it in preparation for this stream. And it came in about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And I have been blown away. This has been the biggest surprise and just like, Logan, you dumbass kind of moments. Which is one of those every time I do these streams. There's one of those. And this is for Faith No More. This is that. Like, come on. This, as you said, Nick, to me, this is the missing link between King for a Day and Album of the Year. This has the energy. We're back. This is 10 songs, 39 minutes, and it feels like 30 minutes for an album. Album of the Year is 12 songs, 43 minutes, and it feels like an hour. To me, that's all I have to say. This just flies by, and it does sound more like that rock characteristic, of Album of the Year and stuff. But maybe it's just because my expectations are set in a way that I'm like, okay, this is still came out like, almost 20 years after Album of the Year. There has to be some realism in our expectations. They're not going to put out Angel Dust. I was expecting kind of a tired sounding album, which Album of the Year sounds tired. Album of the Year sounds like a band going through the motions. This doesn't, like as soon as Superhero came on, I'm like, this is different. There's the layering of Mike Patton. His vocals are doing interesting, crazy stuff. And like, even the lyrics on that song are cool and like, kind of out there. And then as soon as Sunny Side Up came on, phenomenal. Might be my favorite song on the album. Either that one or Separation Anxiety. Separation Anxiety has that just, it's
that tribal rhythm.
And you know what, with this one too, is because there was such a long break from album of the year to this one, it's good to see that they didn't try to reclaim the glory from Angel Dust and try to recreate something that was in the past. You know, they were doing their own thing that was unique and true to them when they recorded this album.
I think that's what works. Like I do hear some of like Patton's time with Tomahawk in this album, you know. Like,
Yeah.
there's that more alternative rock, but like that weird, like angsty, you know,
Noise rock
that Tomahawk would bring on this. But then at the same time, I can still tell it's Faith No More. Easy. Like it's got the keys and like, you know, songs like Motherfucker and Black Friday and Rise of the Fall. I really like that song. That was in a quick grower for me too. And honestly, as soon as I heard Motherfucker in context of the album, I'm sold. I'm done. Like it's it fits. It's a weird single for me still to this day. Like it's maybe if I was more of a fan of Faith No More when it came out, it would have clicked better, but it's just it doesn't flow like a normal song. Like it builds to the, you know, motherfucker, or it's just it's a choral, it's a choir of motherfuckers at the end, and it's awesome. And you know what? From the Dead,
I love that song.
Like, dude, honestly, Chris, you nailed it with Pristina at the end of Album of the Year, but I think From the Dead does what that song did, except even a bit better, kind of. Like, it sounds like upbeat, like,
yeah,
goodbye. Upbeat,
if we're retiring, we're doing it on a good note, and we're happy about it.
Yeah, that was kind of my takeaway. And once again, maybe it's just the fact that I am just now listening to this for the first time, but in that context, this album really surprised me, and it's at least like probably an 8.5, you know, which I was not expecting. I mean, the album cover doesn't help.
No,
as you already mentioned, it doesn't. Like this did not make me want to pick up the album. And
a teenage boy in a diaper. It's anything you like now.
What's wrong with me? Like, yeah.
It's like 1930s Halloween back when everyone looked terrifying.
I would love. I'm sure it's in an interview somewhere, like the story behind why they did this with the packaging. But yeah,
I don't know. It might have been like just a weird
doesn't make
photo.
sense. But of who?
I don't know. Maybe that was Mike Patton's first Halloween. So what are you going at?
I don't even want to know what he's trying to be.
It's like, did you get in my brownies again, Mike? Huh?
This is definitely a bad mushroom trip energy with the album cover.
I'm wearing what I think is comfortable right now.
But I don't know. It feels invigorated. It's got piss and vinegar in the sound again. And if this is it, it's not a bad way to go out, in my opinion, for them. So, yeah, ended up being a big fan of Sol Invictus, which I did not expect. So,
I like the hand clap.
Once again, I did not mention Black Friday, so that's the one song. It's
a good song.
It didn't stick out to me. I can't think of what it sounds like off the top of my head.
It's got like more of an acoustic kind of strum thing. It's very upbeat, and
yeah,
it's a good song. And again, the little.
So from there, after this was released in 2015, let's see. I mean, we already mentioned Chuck Mosley died November 9th of 2017. And you said they did a live show with him. That is awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to watch that. And I guess I think they're kind of in a perpetual hiatus.
Yeah.
Which is it's crazy. I even read a article like within the past year or so where I don't remember if it was Gold or Roddy that mentioned that if they wanted to, or if they could, they'd be willing to play with Faith No More like tomorrow in anywhere, but just certain things are going on that's just keeping them from doing that.
They
know. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, the thing too is all of the band members, they all have their own things going on too. It's they're fine. Their bills are paid. Like they don't need to just scrounge for any gig to make money. Their bills are paid. They can when they want to regroup and be Faith No More, they can do it at their leisure. They'll do it when it's convenient and when it's good for everyone in the band. All of them, have their own things going on. I know that we have some honorable mentions that we're going to do of some other side projects, but I mean, outside of music, I know that Roddy Bottom is a producer, and Mike Borden plays drums for a lot of other bands, and Patton, Patton is Patton, and all of that. So,
I guess now that we're done, Chris, do you want to unveil your official ranking of the discography?
Oh boy, should I?
Do you have one, or up to you?
Well,
man.
are you guys doing a ranking too, or?
Oh, I am absolutely.
Yeah? All right.
I could.
All right. So everyone in
no
the
pressure,
chat,
Nick.
Yeah, everyone in the chat. I think this is where the chat should get involved in the ranking, and I think
please.
everyone in the chat should give their ranking, starting from.
It's on you guys. Come on.
Yeah, starting from
bottom to top.
Bottom to top.
Oh, you want?
This is tough. This is tough.
Oh man. Is it really that tough at the bottom though?
I mean,
no.
I have mine pretty much ranked out in my head.
Right? See, Nick, you're already set.
I mean, well, again, like longtime fan of this, there are certain albums that just haven't moved in terms of like in stone. Just like we'll just carve out the spot, boom, that's where it's going. And even with a new album, it's not really that new anymore. It didn't jostle it that much. Like, I don't know. Like, this is one of those bands I've listened to so much that I just okay. know which ones.
Yeah. All right. So starting from bottom to top, I'm going to put Sol Invictus. And the reason for that, this is an excellent album, but the reason for that is that the sound that I like from this is also what you have in King for a Day and Album of the Year. Yeah.
It's a power bottom.
It's a power bottom. Then, so how many albums are we talking about here? What is
seven? Seven total.
7. Okay, so this is number 7. Number 6 is We Care a Lot. It's. I mean, this is the beginning of classic Faith No More, of a lot of the circus sounding organs, and but it's Faith No More, very young, finding themselves. It was their first album. Chuck Mosley's vocals on this just don't really do a whole lot for me, and yeah, so that's what it is. All right, so this is 7, 6, 5. Are we sure it's 7, or is it 6?
It's 7.
7. Okay.
Introduce Yourself is in there too. Don't forget that.
Yeah, that's right. Oh boy. I think what I'm going to go with 7, 6, 5 is Album of the Year. Excellent album, but a lot of what I enjoy from this is what you can also get from King for a Day. And okay, so then 7654 would be Introduce Yourself. I think I would like Introduce Yourself a lot more if it was Patton on vocals. And yeah, I would have loved if they re-recorded this, but with Mike Patton on vocals. And okay, the next one is this is where it's getting tough. This is where it's getting really tough here.
This is what it's all about, dude.
The real thing.
Oh, you sure? Oh,
yeah. It's I know it's difficult, but you know what? With Faith No More, there are two different eras, and you know it's like there's the classic Faith No More with lots of slap bass, lots of church organ, and then there's the darker, more straightforward rock type of sound. And yes, excellent album, but that's where it's going to go. And then it's King for a Day. And then, of course, Angel Dust #1. So this is my ranking.
that is a good ranking.
Yeah.
Nick, do you want to attempt it, or can I go first? Because I'm worried. I'm worried that you're going to steal my ranking exactly. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. Well,
you want to give it? Or,
all right, how about this? All right, how about let's go one for one. Like I'll bring up my last place, and then you bring out your last place. Let's see how because I'm curious now.
All right.
Because I mean, honestly, I have a feeling we're gonna have like some ending results like at the top that are gonna be the similar. My last place,
number 7.
We Care a Lot. It's
my last place, number 7. We Care a Lot. Is no character, not enough character.
It's just weird. It feels incomplete.
My last place, Soul Invictus.
Yep.
Oh, that one hurts a little.
I know, right? Yeah.
Next up.
But I'm trading off qualities though. Like that's what we're doing is we're trading off qualities.
We can't all be the same.
The next one up is Introduce
Really?
Yourself. An improved album, but again, everyone else improved except for one member that really needed to improve.
Yeah.
And that kind of holds back some of these songs. Like again, there's some bangers on here. Like I do love Chinese Arithmetic. I think that's a fucking killer song. But yeah, this would be my next one down.
That is my next one down.
Okay. Well, all right.
Chris, your next one was We Care a Lot for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Number 5 for you. Oh, you son of a bitch. Look at
man, your punch was pretty damn good so far.
Yep.
It's not a bad album, but again, the drop off at the end is my thing.
All right, we're all number 5 on this one.
That's the first one to line up.
Yep.
There's gonna be more.
Yep.
All right.
Number 4. Oh shit.
Yep. Dude, this. Wow, you were on it. You're on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Why
do you like that album again more than even album of the year?
I probably like it more.
I like this more than album of the year because a lot of what I like about album of the year I can get from King for a Day. But I still like the younger Faith No More with the jumpy, slap bassy, church organ type of stuff that you get from this album. Even though Chuck Mosley's nasal vocals do get on my nerves after a while. Yeah.
When did you start listening to the Chuck Mosley era? Honestly, that's a question. Like, because I had heard or finally listened to him about like a year or two ago, the first Mosley albums. But I didn't like actually dive into them until preparing for this stream. So
It was in the 90s for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had the Chuck Mosley stuff forever, but
okay, so it's nothing new.
I had Real Thing, Angel Dust, and King for a Day all before I got Introduce Yourself.
All right, so what is Wade saying?
Look at Wade here. King for a Day, number 1. Angel
Really?
Dust, number 2. Real Thing, number 3. Soul Invictus, number 4. Oh, okay.
Okay, so the Chuck Mosley stuff is at the back end for him.
Yeah.
I swear, like if they would re-record this with Patton on vocals,
I don't disagree. It's the vocal performance. I think there's something about how he enunciates and sings. Maybe it's the skater boy talk or
maybe it's the cough medicine.
I'm just gonna skate there and I'll look better doing it.
This NyQuil's hitting kind of hard, man.
It just blends so bad to me. Like, he doesn't have a catchy hook. All right, number 4. You ready? Wait, no, number 3. Number 3. I'm sorry.
Real Thing. Oh, yep, and yeah, okay, all right. Okay, we were all on that one.
Yep. Great, number 3. Number 3. Number 2.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, I feel like this is a commonality with probably a lot of Faith No More fans.
This is why I was saying earlier that the ranking is a bit arbitrary, kind of like.
Yeah, honestly, like almost every Faith No More fan I talk to, like these top 3 are almost always in this order. There's occasionally some variants. Yeah. But I mean, killer. And then I mean,
it is what it is. Number 1. Do you remember our positions?
Oh, I mean, number 1, yeah. We know where we're at.
Yeah. The goat. The bird.
The bird.
The bird.
The bird is the word.
Yep.
Yeah. Untouchable glory.
Dude. It's what an album. So yeah, if anyone else wants to drop their ranking, please do.
Andy Man just dropped his ranking.
Oh, what does Andy got here?
Soul's the bottom. Ow.
We care. Oh, King. Oh, Introduce Yourself at number 3. Look at you, Andy.
Angel is 1. Real Thing number 2. That's
King for a Day at number 4 is an interesting pick. Ryan, come on.
That's just the starter block, man. The starter pistol hasn't even shot yet. Get you some Faith No More.
You just did a quick search. I mean, you're good, Ryan. Check out the album, please.
Yeah.
At least just start with The Real Thing. Listen to that.
Angel Dust will warp your perception of 90s music in a good way.
Just music in general, honestly. Like I still use that as a measuring stick for wackiness and like progressive. You can use so many different like descriptors for it as an album.
I think I tried arguing that they were prog at some point, but even that didn't fit. Like, and they're just kind of their own thing. But Ryan, let everyone know. Let everyone in your house know. Like, hey, Mom, I'm going to listen to Jizzlobber and say it really loud.
So, see what happens.
Yeah.
So Andy, you're a fan of Jim Martin's performance. That makes sense with your ranking.
Even when Trey left that band, I believe one of the things he cited was the music wasn't experimental or challenging enough for him, which definitely says something because, I mean, Bungle's fucking out there. But, yeah, like, I think he was a good fit at the time. I would have liked to see him, like, continue with, Trey. And, like, I don't hate John Hudson, but my first impression of him with, Album of the Year was, man, these are like you just woke up and 10 minutes behind the guitar, like, I think I got an entire album here.
That's what it's missing. It's missing a guitar performance.
Yeah.
Is 100% what it's missing. So Jason, thank you for doing one. Let's see. Carolot number 7. Introduce yourself. Oh, so you swapped Soul Invictus and Album of the Year. Angel Dust is number 2 and number 1.
Dude, you like that album a lot.
I kind of agree with you, man.
You know what? I'm
where
for
do
that.
where do you put the real thing though? Is my question.
Choose real thing.
Sorry, dude. Cheers.
So Jason Boardman just had Angel Dust as 1 and 2.
Yep,
That's how good that album is.
He's outsmarted us.
There's the glitch in the Matrix.
Real thing. Yeah. Why not just pick every album as Angel Dust?
I mean,
best band. All right, one last exercise. Can you come up with a top 5 or a top 3 favorite Faith No More songs?
Oh my god!
I try to do this. It's fun. I will say for this video or for this stream, it's been tough. This has been the hardest top 5 favorite songs I've ever done.
Well, hold on.
Typically it flows and it's easy to pick, but for Faith No More, there were so many, and it's ridiculous.
Human Falafel right now is saying that. Is he saying that Angel Dust should be number 7, or that it should occupy all 7?
All 7.
Oh, okay.
So, Wade, your ranking was good, Wade. But yeah, if you guys can cut, or if you want to, you don't have to. If you have some top Faith No More songs you want to drop, you can. Real quick, I told my sister I would mention this. Her favorite album by Faith No More is King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime. She says it has the best extremes, the craziest songs, Cuckoo for Kaka, Ugly in the Morning, and the most epic and beautiful songs, I Am Just a Man,
Mm-hmm.
And then her top favorite songs were Just a Man, I think it was, let me see. I got to pull up the text here. I thought I memorized it. Just a Man, Midlife Crisis, and then Small Victory were her top 3 favorite Faith No More songs. So,
So we're doing top 3 or
whatever you got. I'm doing 5. If you got 5, go for it. But this is another pointless exercise that I enjoy. So if you guys got them,
okay,
in the chat, drop them.
I'm going to go from top to bottom.
Do it. You're up.
Number 1 is Everything's Ruined. I love that song. It's just so the slap bass, everything about it is great. I love Everything's Ruined. Number 2 would be Ashes to Ashes.
Nice.
Number 3 would be Ricochet. Number 4 would be, oh boy, Chinese Arithmetic.
Damn, that's a deep cut for number 4.
Number 5. Oh, this is tough. I'm worried that someday now, if I'm running for public office, then this is going to surface, or I'm running for something. They're like, well, Chris said back in 2025.
You have to own this. Whatever you say is history.
I think number 5 would be Falling to Pieces.
That is a good call. Nick, you got some?
I mean,
yeah.
5 is tough.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 of the tracks have to be from Angel Dust, and
oh my God,
it's going to be Caffeine and Everything's Ruined. Those 2 songs are like 2 of my absolute favorites. I probably take Star AD. I fucking love that song.
Oh,
dude, when he builds up the dude, and he hits that last note, and it's all fucking gruff. Love it. Shit. I'd probably take Ashes to Ashes just because, again, the chorus. Ugh. God. Ugh. And then after that, this hurts. I probably, you know what, honestly, I'll take Surprise You're Dead. A fun, heavy, goofy fucking song. I don't know. I love the riffs on that song too. Like that's got probably the thrashiest riffs I think they've ever had.
Dude. Nice. All right. Let's see. Man, my top 5 initially going into this, as I said, this is the hardest top 5 like songs I've ever been like, oh, let's compile this, because typically it's just it makes sense. Like there's one song I'm just like, this is the ultimate song of the band. For this, it was impossible basically, and I had to make sure I didn't just put all Angel Dust tracks because that's what I wanted to. I wanted to just do it was almost all 5 Angel Dust songs, and I cut it down to just 2, which was really tough. Number 1, Kindergarten. That I think if I could have one Faith No More song, or if I had to pick one, to represent Faith No More, it might be that. Just it's like equally catchy, off the wall, and just a perfect representation of their sound. Number 2 is I Am Just a Man, or Just a Man. What a closer, epic, beautiful, great song. A Small Victory at number 3.
Yeah.
The Real Thing at number 4. I had to do some Real Thing love, and that's your biggest bang for your buck right there. 8 minutes of just build up and emotional turmoil, and great track. And then I almost picked RV for number 5, but that would have been 3 songs from Angel Dust, and I couldn't. So Ugly in the Morning, number 5. So great, just off the wall. I just love it when he, at the very end, it's just Ugly in the Morning over and over again. And he just builds. Holy shit, he just builds. It's awesome. All right, and there we go. Enough of Faith No More.
There's never enough
discography. I agree. There's always more Faith here. But some of these members, especially Mike Patton, had side projects. So we've got an honorable mentions section specifically for probably just Mike Patton. If there's other members though that have side projects you want to mention.
Well, give me a second. I'm going to grab a smoke, but I have a couple I can bring up for sure.
Yes, I think I'm going to let Chris go first. I trust his expertise in this category, basically exclusively. So,
be right back.
Chris, it's all you, my friend.
Okay, so for Faith No More adjacent, there are a few things that I'm going to show right here. Phantomus, the director's cut. Mike Patton, Dave Lombardo joining forces was awesome, and then also Buzz Osborne from the Melvins, and then I think Trevor Dunn is also plays guitar on here. I think is that what it is? And yeah, Mike Patton, Dave Lombardo, Buzz Osborne, Trevor Dunn. Yeah.
Wait, sorry, what is this?
Phantomus.
I had to let my cat in.
Phantomus, the director's cut.
Yeah.
So this is really awesome. I really like a lot of the Phantomus stuff. I don't own all of the Phantomus stuff, but I think this was the first Phantomus album. I think wait, you know what? There's the first one was the one that has like the science fiction type of cover. Shit.
Yes, I looked up their discography just recently, and their first album is called. It's their self-titled album. Phantomus came out in 1999, and this one was 2001.
Yeah. So, the first one too again was really good, but Phantomus definitely. Awesome stuff. Going back to Mr. Bungle, I'd have to say that this is probably my preferred Bungle album, Mike Patton's solo album, but then also with Trevor Dunn as well. On this one, I like California a lot too, but I kind of just like how crazy and church organ sounding this one is. I also like Disco Violante a lot, but
that album's crazy. That album's insane.
yeah. But I'm gonna have to go with the self-titled here as being like my preferred Mr. Bungle album. Yeah. Nick right there, classic Bungle, definitely.
Wade gives that one a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I like this one a lot too. I do have this one that they released during COVID. It was the with Scotty in. This was the Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny, the demos that they re-recorded with Scotty in.
Yeah, so that's all re-recorded material, right?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really good, but this is just re-recording older stuff. If I was to go with an actual album, I would go with the first Mr. Bungle album. And what else do we have here? Of course, this one I'm sure we'll all show this one, and that is Mike Patton with the Dillinger Escape Plan. And this 4-song EP is killer. It's absolutely killer. And this was a unique time during the Dillinger Escape Plan when the original singer Dimitri left the band. They recorded this EP with Mike Patton before Jim Bro joined the band. And then that was like the whole second wave of Dillinger Escape Plan. I really fell out of Dillinger after
when Jim Bro.
Yeah, Jim Bro, just everything Dillinger was, because after, this is the original Dillinger lineup except for the singer. So it's the original drummer. After Jim Bro joined, then they started to just become more celebrities and all of that type of stuff. But
Jim Bro is Greg Puciato, if anyone's wondering.
Yeah, but
he has muscles, but his name is Greg.
Greg, I've always called him Jim Bro. But the first 2 songs off of this one, Hollywood Squares and Pig Latin, are just absolutely killer. Yeah, the one thing I'm not big on this one is the Aphex Twin cover, Come to Daddy, because I was just never really into them. But yeah, this one for a 4-song EP, but the stuff that Mike Patton does on this one, but then with the technical chaos of Dillinger Escape Plan at the time. Yeah, this is really awesome. It's really awesome. And it's Dillinger Escape Plan, this whole like tech metalcore type of sound isn't anything that I really go back to that often. But I still do like to listen to Calculating Infinity in the Under the Running Dashboard EP sometimes, and then this one falls in line with those ones. So something that is I don't have physicals to show for, but just to mention is that Jim Borden, the drummer, and then I'm sorry, not I always confuse Jim Borden, he's the drummer, right?
Yeah.
I
Are you talking about Golden? Shit.
Yeah, I always fuck up all the names.
Oh, dude, me too. I am not a name guy at all.
Yeah, no, not me either.
Like, they all become one person. Billy Gold is the key bassist, and then Rodney Bottom is the keyboardist.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so so Mike Borden, the drummer, and then Billy Gold, the bassist. they played session for the re-recording. They re-recorded the bass and drums for the first 2 Ozzy solo albums, Diary of a Madman and Blizzard of Oz, because when they re-released those, they didn't have the permission for the original bass and drummers. There was some legal conflict. So they re-recorded the bass and drum tracks, and Mike Borden and Mike Borden and then Billy Gold, they played bass and drums for the first 2 Ozzy solo albums. So I would like to pick those up with them playing bass and drums on Diary of a Madman and Blizzard of Oz. And then also another thing I don't have, I mentioned it before, Jim Martin's solo project, Inari Vots, 90s porn star. I'd like to find that somehow. But then one other thing to mention too is I've had a couple beers too, so I'm getting forgetful right now. Mike Borden was on Jeopardy.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so and apparently he did really well on Jeopardy. And so on YouTube you can find Mike Borden, an actual contestant on Jeopardy. And there he is with his whole like dreadlocks and everything, but on Jeopardy, just absolutely killing it with Alex Trebek. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, you can find that. And so that's all. I mean, there are so many honorable mentions, especially when you get into Mike Patton stuff. And
he has a deep,
yeah. And the Man on Man project.
Those music videos.
Yeah. But
I learned a new way to eat a banana through that, so it's technically educational.
But it takes a long time to eat it, I bet.
Yeah, well, no, actually, they got it pretty quickly. It was a very immediate banana eating.
Yeah, that's all that I have for honorable mentions.
Nick,
do you have any?
I have
or nothing.
Mostly some Mike Patton stuff. I don't know if this one got brought up.
Chris
Dillinger,
Due Diligence.
I love this EP. This EP is fucking bonkers. But since that one got brought up, you get this one.
Oh, what
is that, dude?
This is, what was it? Shit, hold on here. It's Mike Patton and a composer, Jean-Claude Vanier, called Corpse Flower.
Oh yeah, okay.
Never heard that one.
It's dark, kind of like cinematic stuff. It's very avant-garde, very strange. I haven't come back to it that often. You got to be kind of in the mood for it.
Is that on the Sazdik label, the TZ?
Fuck! It really. Hold on here. Let me get the CD. Nope, that's the CD. Hold on here.
I think it's John Zorn's label, maybe, or
Patton did do a bunch of stuff with Zorn. I know that for sure.
Yeah. Well, I have. Hold on here. I have some of that, but it's. No, it's on Ipecac, 2019.
Ipecac. Okay, yeah.
And then I have this other very strange score from him. I forget the name of the movie, but it's again more avant-garde Patton stuff, more cinematic. It's a little bit stranger. Like it doesn't feel as dark. It just feels weird. Again, one I haven't come back to in a while, just because again, very particular mood. Probably, I imagine we probably covered this.
No,
Mondo Cane?
Actually, no.
Oh, you didn't?
I don't have that. Nope.
Yeah, this is Mike Patton doing Italian pop songs from the 60s with essentially an orchestra. And it's fucking brilliant. Like, he's crooning in Italian and reworking all these songs. There's some interesting instrumentation in there with like some weird sound effects and such, but it's done very naturally. And honestly, it's a really amazing vocal performance from Patton. Like, he's just crooning his ass off of this. Really fun listen.
Yeah, Eric was saying earlier in the chat that he would really listen to the Mondo Kane stuff over anything.
I don't know. Peeping Tom was probably my next favorite, but I figured you probably covered that, so I didn't grab it. But this one's definitely more.
Did you cover that one, Chris?
I didn't show any Peeping Tom, no.
Well, that one's yours then.
I have it then whenever I come around.
This is a bootleg I got forever ago in a record store. Like, this is like legit, like a burned CD. It's
Yeah.
called Mike Patton Hates Everyone, and someone just compiled a bunch of random tracks. Like, let's see, you have Chariot Chogle, Ballad of Hank McCain with John Zorn, G.I. Joe with the Melvins, The Waste with Sepultura, which was on the Freddy vs. Jason soundtrack. Procura Okara with Igor Cavalera, and it's just kind of this thrashy percussive number. Look Away with Sepultura and Jonathan Davis. Mine also with Sepultura. And then like a whole bunch of these, again, like extra ones like that are just like weird ones, like Area 877 with Melt Banana. It's even got some Peeping Tom demo stuff on it. And a BBC interview excerpt, all in this weird little burn CD that someone probably made here in Toledo. And, you know, got the classic slick back hair look too, of course. So, yeah, this is just a weird little comp that I've had forever.
That is pretty cool.
Nice,
That is
nice.
cool.
You're never going to find this on fucking Discogs.
So that's like a mixtape that someone made probably for a girlfriend, and then she just was like, they broke up.
she broke up like halfway through it. Like, nah, this is it. Sorry. But yeah, that's kind of the. I was going. I mean, like, there's Tomahawk, of course. I figured I grabbed the ones I figured you guys probably were covering.
Well, you covered a bunch that even I've not heard of. You know, like the soundtracks for sure, and yeah, that last thing you showed.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think anyone's gonna find this.
There's some in-depth diving to the side projects for this band for sure. I will say at the same time I got into the real thing and really started to click with Mike Patton as a singer. That's when I heard Tomahawk and listened to this album. And this is probably a somewhat important album for me as well. Oddfellows came out in basically 2011.
Yep.
I think it was like maybe January 1st, 2012 is when it came out. But yeah, 2011 album. The song Stone Letter, that is the track. It's so fucking catchy. But they also have White Hats, Black Hats, The Quiet Few, Choke Neck. I don't know. Tomahawk is a great band. They're once again just two different extremes. You either have like the quiet, like, you know, he's muffling his vocals, like he's like this, or he's got the microphone fucking screaming it. It's Mike Patton makes the albums basically. So
I got into him with the first one, and honestly, Mitgas is probably my personal favorite.
That's cool that you have that, you know, level of experience. Like when I was getting into, this is the first thing that came out from them, and I haven't picked up the first one. So, but yeah, Tomahawk has to be mentioned for sure. To give Borden some love again, Mike Borden. Guess what?
Yep.
Come on.
I love that album.
Jerry Cantrell, Degradation Trip. He is all over this thing.
Really?
We got Robert Trujillo too. This is basically Ozzy was just swapping bandmates with Jerry for this. So gotta mention the Faith No More drum presence. This is probably the better Jerry Cantrell solo album.
I love that album.
Boggy Depot is awesome. I'm a huge fan of Boggy Depot, but this one is more the grunge sound I think people are looking for. You know,
Bargain Basement, Howard Hughes.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
dude, riffs.
Psychotic Break, Anger Rising. She Was My Girl. Locked On.
Angel Eyes.
Hellbound, yeah, Angel Eyes, so good. This is just because there's you can buy this as like a double album. This is
I
just
have
the
that
single.
version.
Do you have the double?
Oh yeah, dude, that's the way to go.
Yeah, if you
Yeah,
can find it.
if you can find it, it is kind of rare actually.
And then I gotta show off my Mr. Bungle real quick. This is my favorite Mr. Bungle, California.
Mm-hmm.
It's so unlike them. It's almost a beautiful album. It's a vacation album. It's a tropical album. Go out with your lover to a beach and with some champagne and stuff, and I don't know. Good luck. Try to get lucky. This is a fun little album right here. I love how it just ends with "Goodbye Sober Day." With that,
you're in the car. She asked you if you brought protections. Like, no, I brought Mr. Bungle. Duh.
And then this is insane. This is makes no sense.
There's one song, "Stress is Carried in the Jaw." That's the only song that makes a lick of sense to me.
It barely does.
It's mostly instrumental too. There's not
lots of weird scraping noises. It's a bonkers album.
Yeah, it's insane. It does make me think of the John Zorn style, like just throwing it all out there and take what you want, leave what you don't, kind of thing. Like there's just so much. You get something different each time. And then I did pull Peeping Tom.
You got to pull either side. There you go,
dude. This is one of the coolest
that is cool.
albums I have. Chris, you have this.
I don't have that one.
You don't have it?
You did.
No, I don't.
I thought you showed me this. You're like, look at this.
Really?
I swear to God. See if you have this on CD, because I thought you did, because you showed this off, I thought, during a stream we did, where you're like, look at what you can do with a CD.
That is cool. I mean, you know my thing for packaging.
Yeah. And this is quite the package right here.
That's impressive.
Well, it gets bigger when you handle it, too.
Just look at the back, too. Ooh. But this is just trip-hop pop music with Mike Patton singing. It's awesome.
Dan the Automator and
yes.
Was that Lovage?
Yeah.
Was Lovage?
Nora Jones is on here. Massive Attack is on here with Kill the DJ. A bunch of people I don't recognize are on here because
Mojo. Mojo's like, that's the jam. I love that song. We're not alone.
Yeah. Peeping Tom is worth picking up if you're just a fan of Mike Patton.
Yes.
Don't sleep on this, please.
Yeah. Okay, so Lovage is another one. Yeah.
Yeah, that I do not own any Lovage, but I want to mention this again for the third time, mainly because I think modern Faith No More is modern Dillinger Escape Plan, is the closest you can get to modern Faith No More. Like the you call him Jim Bro, but I do like Greg as a vocalist. I do think he is a respectable singer because he still brings the intensity that Dillinger Escape Plan can have on like Calculating Infinity, but with this almost Mike Patton style vocal delivery. So I do think some of their albums serve as the closest you can get to like a modern day,
what was the one
technical metal version of Faith No More.
Ironworks. I always thought was
Ironworks is up there. Miss Machine would be there for me as well. I've also always been a fan of. It was unfortunately their Sumerian Records debut, but One of Us Is the Killer has always been a favorite of mine too. So I don't know. I've always been a fan of Dillinger Escape Plan and all their eras. My favorite era is still Calculating Infinity, but I do like the Greg era, and I think that is a bit more like they're definitely aping Faith No More qualities and traits on those albums. And I don't know, this is special though, as you guys all said.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think When Good Dogs Do Bad Things might be my favorite. Or
Pig Latin.
Pig Latin, dude. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing notes for the band, for the stream? Appreciate you guys, man. This has been awesome.
Pretty please come back, Faith No More. Pretty please.
Oh yeah. Did you ever see him live? Nick?
No.
I forgot this was a topic. I've never seen him live either, man.
This is like the biggest bucket list band for me live. It really is. So yeah, that's it. Like I feel like I would complete the cycle. I just got to see him live. I've seen Tomahawk once, but that doesn't count for Faith No More. But final thoughts. This was fun. I love talking about this band. This is like one of the most special bands to me. And like going through all this stuff and listening to it again, it's always a joy. Even, the Mosley stuff, it was still fun to listen to.
Absolutely.
But thank you. Thank you for having me, dude. I fucking appreciate the shit out of this.
Dude, Nick, thanks for joining, man. Chris?
Yeah, definitely. Nick, glad you joined us. Logan, I'm glad we got this going. Some Faith No More respect was long overdue in the YouTube community. I'm happy to have been part of it. And I'm glad I got to see them. I don't think they'll probably ever play again live, or if they do, it'll just be a one-off at some huge festival somewhere and all that, but I don't think that they'll ever tour again as a band. I think Faith No More is,
no more.
is no more. But yeah, it's definitely an awesome band, and easily in my top 10 all-time favorite bands, probably in my top 5.
Yeah.
Nice. Definitely top 10 for me. I did do a top 20 favorite band ranking on the channel, and I think they were like number 7 maybe or 6. A special band, just the fact that they're not like a nostalgic listen necessarily, because you can keep coming back to them and finding new stuff, and it's not just like, oh, I listened to this because I listened to it back when I was 16, 17. It's still impactful to this day, and impressive musicianship, just courageous integration of different genres and styles that make their music unique. And this was fun. I had a blast doing this. I'm glad we finally did it. Nick, cheers for joining. Chris, thank you for waiting patiently as we were able to set this up, man. I appreciate that, because this was long in the works for us to do. So
definitely.
Cheers,
And I know that we're planning on some other streams in the future for some other collaborations of deep dives and all of that. And anyone in the chat who wants to hang, we're going to have a post hang over. If you want to move over to my channel, Depeche Commode, we're going to have a hang there, and some of us will be on stream, and we'll invite some other people to join on and probably drink a little more and just chat some more and do all of that. So, and
It's in lots of full frontal male nudity. What?
Lots long overdue full frontal male nudity.
I hate these clothes.
I could be myself.
man on man.
Just let me be me. So it was a good deep dive. So there, just for the entire YouTube community, there will never be a better Faith No More deep dive. Any of these posers who you see who have their 10-minute ranking video, like, how there are those posers on YouTube.
I've seen them. Yeah,
the guy who wears like the skull mask and all that, and he just does like an entire band ranking video in 10, like an album ranking video in 10 minutes. Fuck all of them. They're all bullshit. They're all bullshit. This is the definitive Faith No More deep dive.
Exactly. If it's not longer than an hour, I don't think you like the band.
Yeah, we've gone on for what, 3.5 hours?
Yep.
So to talk about Motley Crue for fucking 2 hours, and I didn't even enjoy it.
Oh God. Do you want to plug that?
No, I mean, if anyone's seen the Motley Crue ranking.
Oh, you already put it out?
Oh, it's already out. It's already out. If you want to watch me make fun of Motley Crue for an hour and 40 minutes, maybe more. Yeah, no, it's on the channel. It's on Thralls Model. Go for it. Knock yourself out.
Are you popping over on the
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
I'm gonna ask you more on
John
that.
too.
Yeah. Dude, yeah. Get John over. I'd love to.
Yeah, let's get Jam and John on here.
Yeah, dude.
He's honestly, if we were doing this, I can almost guarantee he'd be the odd one out, and he would have King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime as his number one.
Tell him to get his rankings in order when we go live, because I want to hear his thoughts.
Yeah.
But closing thoughts, awesome stream. Let's all go over to the Depeche Commode's channel, do the after stream and stuff. Cheers to you guys. Thank you for joining. And we are out.
All right.
Peace.